Well, hello, everyone. It looks like my browser is not exploding today. Isn't it fascinating what happens when you actually do the updates on your computer that you're supposed to do? Well, we've had some technical difficulties this week a couple of times with streams where as soon as I hit broadcast, it kicks me out. My entire computer starts blinking with lights. And after it happened yesterday on the stream where I was all excited to watch the videos that we're going to watch today, I was like, "Okay, Carlin, maybe update your computer. You've been putting off these updates for, well, many moons, many, many, many moons. And sometimes it's just not good to do that." So I have confirmed that everything is working. I have tested it. The video should be working. The sound should be working. Everything should be good. Guys, welcome to Happy Hour. Happy Hour is a stream that I do on Fridays at 5 p.m. where we talk about the news and whatever. Not about the news. I almost wow. You know what I just did there? Is I started going into the intro for Nothing Remotely Controversial on Happy Hour. Happy Hour is not a show where we talk about the news at all. Happy Hour is a show where we watch the wokest of the woke training and we have some beverages and we talk about it. And today we are going to be doing what I was trying to do yesterday, which is to continue to work our way through the trainings that were sponsored by the Michigan Department of Education. And we watched one last week where it kind of seems like the Michigan Department of Education are kind of training teachers to be groomers. That's kind of what it seems to me. And if you didn't get a chance to read this article on my Substack, I'm just going to pop it in the chat. This is an overview of the highlights of the first in a series of webinars that we happen to watch, and I broke it all down for you, and it really does kind of seem like the Michigan Department of Education is teaching teachers how to groom kids. In this video right here, we actually see two elementary school teachers talking about how they're very jealous of another elementary school because that elementary school had two kids come out. Whether or not they came out as trans or gay, we don't know because they don't say, and I don't really even think it matters. But these two teachers were really jealous that another elementary school in Michigan had two children coming out. And one of them said, "You know why they're doing it? It's with the wonderful help of the guidance counselor." Oh, isn't that nice? Isn't that nice? We've got teachers talking about how they're reading trans books to elementary schoolers. We've got them talking about how they want to eliminate all gendered language. They're using TikTok to train people. Michigan Department of Education, they're talking about what they're going to be doing to do more LGBTQIA two spirit plus elemental P. They're talking about how they're integrating more of that across their educational spectrum, starting in elementary school. They're talking about how they're changing sex ed. Anyway, this was the first presentation in a series of presentations sponsored by the Michigan Department of Education. And this is the Google Drive that an intrepid Unwoke warrior sent me that not only lists exactly what the trainings they're doing are, but they also have links to all the videos. Wasn't that nice of the Michigan Department of Education to put this together for us? So I have at least one and possibly more than one. We're going to have to see how it goes. I've had a really long week this week, so we might only do one today, but that's okay. There's always tomorrow. No, we got Socialism Saturday tomorrow. We'll talk about that in a second. So the one that we're going to start with today, and we may move into the second one if we feel like it, depending on how this goes. We may not. We may save it for another day. Oh, shit. That's not what I wanted to do at all. I wanted to make it bigger, not smaller. There we go. The one that we're going to watch today is called Laying the Foundation, Understanding the Identities of the LGBTQ plus students in Michigan. Did you know that 1 in 8 students in Michigan public high schools identifies as lesbian, gay, bisexual, and or transgender? Having a foundational understanding of who LGBTQ plus students are and what they are experiencing in Michigan schools is critical in supporting their health, well-being, and academic achievement. In this interactive webinar, participants will discuss key identities related to sexual orientation, gender identity, gender expression, and accompanying terms. We will also seek to understand the daily lived experiences by examining Michigan-specific and national data. This workshop will help provide a foundational understanding for school personnel who want to support LGBTQ plus students and their families. And that is the one we will be starting with today. If we move into the second one, I will tell you about it at that point. But guys, just a couple orders of business before we get started. Number one, and I actually should get up the bingo card too, shouldn't I? I should always make sure we have bingo cards up. Hang on, let me just get the appropriate bingo card. We're gonna go gender queer bingo for this one. So okay, hang on. Getting the bingo card up. So we do bingo on happy hours. And I actually have a lot of different bingo cards. I have the race bingo card, I have the socialism bingo card, and this is going to be the gender queer bingo card. Let me just pop this in the chat over on YouTube. There you go. And this is just something to keep us interested as we are watching the training. And what you do is you go ahead and hit generate card. Everyone's card will be unique. You get a free square in the middle. And then we're going for lines or we're going for corners. If you get a bingo, just shout it out in the chat. You won't win anything, but you will get a hearty round of congratulations. And once we get regular bingo, then we're going for blackout bingo. And I generally find the gender stuff is a pretty good thing to get blackout bingo on because they love using their buzzwords. They love it. Every buzz. Oh, someone else is clicking off squares on my bingo card. Oh no. Oh no. Oh no. And now we have blackout bingo. Thank you, bot. That's probably bot. Anyway, that's what's going on with bingo today. And so that's one of the things you can do. Another thing you can do is make sure you are subscribed to my Substack. My Substack is where you are going to find the most original unwoke content on the internet. I report things weeks, maybe months before most other conservatives outlets report them because I'm one of the people that actually has their ears on the ground of what's going on. I know what's going on. I'm looking at receipts. I'm looking at primary source documentation, just like we're doing today. If you want insight into the most creative, unwoke content on the internet, make sure you are subscribed to my Substack. It is Karlyn, Karlyn, .substack.com, and you can subscribe for free, and that's totally fine, and I would recommend everyone do it because Substack is going to be my primary content hub. Hang on. Oh my god, I just died. It's been a long day. Like I told you, long day. Anyway, what is going on with my throat now? Okay. One moment, please. There we go. There we go. Anyway, on my Substack, you will not have to hear me hacking into a microphone because it's writing. Isn't that glorious? So make sure you're subscribed for free. Oh my word. Or I'm going to wash this down with a beer in a second. Or you can become a paying supporter on my Substack for $5 a month, $50 a year. That helps keep me in business. It helps support the work I'm doing. And of course, I greatly appreciate it. Now, tomorrow on the channel, oh my God, my throat is messed up. Hang on. I don't know why all of a sudden I'm like fine all day. And then as soon as I go on the internet, I'm like hacking up a damn lung. I think something just went down the wrong pipe. Hang on, I'm getting some more bubbly water. Jeez. All right, I think we're bringing it back. Tomorrow on the channel at 6 p.m., I'm going to be doing Socialism Saturday. We do Socialism Saturday just slightly later on Saturdays because it's my weekend too, and I have other stuff I need to do. But we do watch Socialism on Saturday, and I have a special treat for tomorrow. Tomorrow, we are not only going to watch a presentation about Marxism and trans liberation. We are also going to watch God damn it. What is wrong with maybe I have COVID. Maybe I have COVID. It's true. It's true. No, I don't have COVID. I've already had COVID twice. Of course, both times after I got the J&J. I only got one shot. I didn't get no booster. Anyway, I have a special treat tomorrow because we are going to be watching a 1 hour presentation about Marxism and trans liberation. And then we are going to be watching a debate with Charlie Kirk and a trans Marxist, just to switch things up. Usually on Socialism Saturday, we only watch the socialists, but I gotta admit, I am kind of curious to watch Charlie Kirk interact with an actual trans Marxist. I'm curious to see how much Charlie Kirk actually knows, because I mean he knows more than like the average person, but he's also not like the brightest crayon in the box, but he knows his stuff about some things. So I thought that that would be a nice follow up, is we're going to watch the actual trans Marxists talk first, and then we're going to watch Charlie Kirk debate a trans Marxist. That is going to be tomorrow, Saturday at 6 p.m. on my channel. Make sure you're subscribed, make sure you got notifications turned on, all that good stuff. I think it's going to be a grand old time. And then on Sunday, we're going to be watching The Big Short for movie night. Movie night is for my supporter community. It is in my supporter Discord. If you are a paying member on my Substack or my locals or my Patreon, or you are a member of this YouTube channel, you will receive access information for my supporter Discord either tomorrow or on Sunday. And then you can come and join us to watch The Big Short for our weekly movie night. This is in honor of One Reagan One's birthday. Reagan One has been in charge of my supporter Discord basically since the supporter Discord started. He's done a really great job. I'm so appreciative of all the work he's put into it, because he kind of dragged me kicking and screaming into Discord, and he's really taken charge of it along with Jennifer and some other folks in terms of making my supporter Discord great and really supporting my community. And I so appreciate it. And so we are honoring One Reagan One with his selection for movie night on Sunday. And he's also going to explain like the financial crisis to us and the market crash and all that stuff and how that really happened. So on movie nights for my supporters, we don't just sit back and watch a movie. We talk. We have trivia about the movies. We have people coming in and talking about different components of the movies sometimes. It really is so nice. It's a nice way to kind of end the weekend. They're weekly on Sundays at 8 p.m. And so if you don't like this movie, and I haven't seen it, so I don't know, I'm really excited to see it actually. If you don't like this movie, we'll be doing a different one next week. We do it almost every single Sunday. It's actually really great. And I hope you guys will be able to join us. Again, you can become a member of it by becoming a member on my Substack, by becoming a member in my locals community, by becoming a member of my Patreon. All of the links are in the description below. You can find them at activelyunwoke.com/support. You can also become a member of this here YouTube channel, and I will be posting a link to the supporter Discord as well. And then you can come and join us. All right, guys, our last order of business. Well, we're not going to do a beer vote this week. And usually for a happy hour, I have people vote on which beer I drink. Now, the problem is I only have 2 beers because I didn't get a chance to go to the beer store today. So I'm kind of doing leftovers. And the reason I'm not going to give you guys a vote is because there is a very important order to these beers in that I have to drink one before the other for it to actually make sense just from a taste level. But I know you're upset about it, but we'll have a vote next week. So I want to tell you about the beers. The first one is a raspberry key lime sour. And this is from Stark Brewing Company. This is a New Hampshire brewing company. So we've got our nice sour beer, and I'm really looking forward to that one. That's the one I'm going to drink first. The second one, I am now amassing a collection of beer cans that I just think are cool and interesting. You guys obviously can't see my full office, but on the other side of my office, I have this little rail coming out of my wall. It's like yay big, so you can't really put anything on it. It's not like a bookshelf or anything. It's just like a little rail, and I don't know why they built it that way, but you know what it fits perfectly? Beer cans. And so I've been getting in this habit. I'm not going to show you my office, but I've been getting in this habit. My office is a disaster area. You guys don't want to see the mess that's behind this camera. I'll tell you that. But I've been buying beer cans specifically because I like the design and I want to collect the can. And you can't really see it, but this can is like, it's iridescent. And as soon as I saw it in the beer store, I was like, that's a cool can because it's shimmery and it has color. You can't really see it on the camera, but I can see it here. And this is called Ergonomic Gaming Mouse. And this is an Imperial Stout. And Imperial Stouts, this is a 10% beer. 10% beer. Okay. So that's why we're drinking this one second, because I can't drink this one first. I will fall over. We're going to start with the sour, which is a little bit lighter. And then if I finish the sour, we've got our Imperial Stout with the really cool can. I've been working I've been working up to tackle this one, but I was like, the can is so cool. And then the beer store only had one left. And I was like, I have to do it. I have to. So that's what we're going to do today. I also do actually have some cider like in my little cooler down here just in case. So that's how that's going to roll. But before we get to pouring the beer, I want to do one more thing. So today, I was expecting a package today. And that package definitely did not have mushroom infused chocolate bars in it. It definitely didn't. That definitely was not the package I was expecting today. And so when there was a knock on my door earlier, with the delivery man, I definitely didn't go, yay, my package is here. Again, expecting a package full of mushroom chocolate. That definitely absolutely did not happen. But I did not find the mushroom chocolate when I opened the door. What I found was actually much better. What I found was a gift basket from my Unwoke army because they surprised me with some presents. And I want to show you guys what they sent me. And I really was not expecting this at all. So my Unwoke army surprised me with some gifts. First off, I got a box of chocolates, Russell Stover chocolates. Who doesn't love those? Another thing that they sent, let me show you guys this. If anyone has ever had Sherry's berries, they sent me some chocolate covered strawberries, and I've had these before and they're really, really, really good. So I was excited about that. And then the piece de resistance, they sent me more beer. They sent me beer and snacks and cheese and a summer sausage and crackers. I think there's some other stuff in there and lots of different beers. So I just and hang on. And they also put a very nice card in saying that they had my back, and I just really appreciate it. Like I said, guys, it was it's been a tough week. It's been a rough week for a lot of different reasons that I'm not going to go into on the internet. But and my locals members heard about it on Wednesday, and I think that they concocted a plan to surprise me with a gift basket. And so I really was very surprised. I'm very, very grateful. Thank you guys so much. It really does mean the world. I love what I do. It gets hard sometimes. I'm not gonna lie. It does get hard sometimes to have your head in the woke ideology like all day, every day, because that is quite literally what I do. I think about this stuff 8 to 15 hours a day, every single day. And I do it because it's an obsession. I want to understand it. I want to teach it. And and I do enjoy it. I enjoy it. Like I enjoy the dystopian aspects of it. I've always been interested in dystopian things. And so for me, it's like I feel very blessed to be able to do this with you guys. I really do. And I'm so grateful for the support that allows me to do it. But it does get hard sometimes. And this week has definitely gotten very hard. And so I really do appreciate the gift basket, but more so than the gift basket, I really appreciate the support and the help from my community. And I love you guys. And I really appreciate you. And you make it like I would not be here without my community. And just thank you, thank you, thank you. I really do appreciate the nice reminder of the support I have. So you guys are the best. I just can't say enough good things. All right, let's pour our beer and let's get this party started. Hang on. Uh-oh. I'm having a hard time opening it. It better not explode. Oh, it didn't explode. Let's go. Let's see what's in this raspberry key lime sour. Cheers, everyone. We're going to be getting into our presentation in a second. If you are drinking something fun for happy hour, let me know what it is. Ooh, that's good. That's a good one. I don't know if this can is going to make it on the wall, though. I don't like the design of the can, but the beer in the can is very tasty. All right, guys, again, welcome to Happy Hour. We are watching today. We are going to start. Oh, that's not the one I want to start with. I want to start with this one. We are watching a presentation sponsored by the Michigan Department of Education designed to train teachers during the 2021-2022 year. And it is called Laying the Foundation. And I just got to get our sound going here. All right, everyone, mount that like button if you would be so inclined. Please make sure you're subscribed to the channel. Let's see what the Michigan Department of Education is teaching teachers today. The typo was bot's fault. I loved the typo, Murphy.
All right. Welcome, everyone.
Sound! Yay!
What's happening? It's our first.
I just want to say, one of the things.
First training of the.
I want to say, so one of the things that I appreciated most about the card that you guys sent me is it had a typo in it. Because, of course, I'm famous for not being able to tweet anything without having a typo. All right, let's get started.
The 2021-22 school year. Welcome. We're super happy to have you. Let's see. My name's Kim Phillips Knope. I use she, her pronouns, and I am the project lead for the Michigan Department of Education's LGBTQ+ students project. And I'm so happy to be here. Let's see. Kofi, would you like to introduce yourself?
Kofi?
We'll kind of make our way across the folks who'll be doing stuff behind the scenes here.
Why not? Good morning, everybody. I'm Dr. Amory Robinson. That's my professional name, but I also go by my African name, Dr. Kofi Doma. So you can call me either way. It's fine. I will answer to you. My pronouns are she, her, and hers. I live in Detroit. I work in Highland Park at the Ruth Ellis Center as the lead therapist in the behavioral health department there. After working 15 years in juvenile court psychiatric clinic. So I also do psychotherapy on the side, and I've been a part of this training team for, gosh, I done lost count now, Kim. I don't know, 7, 8 years or something.
A long time and not long enough, all at the same time.
It's one of the best things in the world to do, I'm telling you. So it's really good to be here, and it's good to see you all here as well.
Thanks, Kofi. Lori?
Hi, welcome everybody. My name is Lori Beckhofer. I use she, her pronouns. I'm with the Michigan Department of Education. I'm the HIV sex education consultant with the department and also
Michigan
the
Department
on this
of Education
LGBTQ students project. And I'm just excited to see all your faces for our first webinar here in the fall of 2021.
All right, Katie, you're up.
Hi, everyone. I'm Katie Lemmer. I use she, her, hers pronouns. I'm a program coordinator at MOASH, but I'm specifically the project assistant on this project. I'm definitely the newest. I've only been working on the project for a few months, but I am excited to be here at yet another good training.
Thanks, Katie. All right, so we are going to get started here. We are recording, so I just want folks to know now. We are recording this training and we will be using it. We are recording all of our trainings this fall so that we can make them more available to folks so that we can.
We appreciate you doing that, Kim.
We can reach on any one individual training.
Thank you for recording the training for us, Kim.
So having said that, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen here. It's there. All right. So this is where you are. If this isn't what you intended, then surprise and welcome. We are. Oh, I start every training with
land
a
acknowledgement.
So I just want to take a moment to respectfully acknowledge the Menominee, Fox, Anishinaabe,
I don't think they did a land acknowledgement last
Chippewa
time.
or Ojibwe, the Sioux, Mississauga, Odawa, Miami, Potawatomi, and other Native peoples who've stewarded the land that all of us are standing on or sitting in throughout the generations.
Called it, Lady
All right,
Hawk.
so as we get started here, we just want to encourage folks to do what you need to take care of yourself and minimize distractions so that you have, everything that you need to be able to sort of be grounded and present with us here for the next hour and a half or so. And then just a few things to keep in mind here. This is interactive.
There's the bingo
so you
card
should
if
be ready
anyone
to
needs one.
participate. This isn't just a sit and get kind of thing. We're going to be doing stuff together. And then after the training, we will follow up with an email that will include the PowerPoint, links to the videos that we're sharing, and a 2-page resource list of resources and information for you. All right. And then
we do have the resource list as well. It's on their,
a little
it's
bit of
on their
background about the project
document
itself. So we are the Michigan Department of Education's LGBTQ+ Students Project. We do in-person and online trainings, although we're not doing in-person trainings at the moment, but my gosh, with any luck, at some point, we'll be doing them again. So we have these online trainings, we have in-person trainings. We also offer technical assistance and have in the past offered drop-in support. And our hope is that we'll be able to do our drop-in sessions again. We're sort of in a weird grant funding bridge phase, and we're waiting to find out if we got a grant that will allow us to do things to our full capacity again. And then we also
this is also partially sponsored by the CDC, just so you guys know. I think the grant that Kim is talking about is the CDC.
We worked with the state
and we know that because their document for this year's training series said they're sponsored by the CDC.
Board of Education on their statement and guidance on safe and supportive learning environments for LGBTQ+ students, which will be included in that 2-page resource list. And we have this wonderful resource guide.
This was last year, Stephanie.
Is in its 7th edition. We're in the process of transitioning that to an online resource.
Guys, just to be really clear, this was last year. So this was the 2021 through 2022 training cycle. They've just started repeating the same trainings for the 2022-2023 cycle. And so this is last year's. We don't have the recordings for this year's yet because they haven't done them all. So that's why it sounds like she's still living in the pandemic. I mean, she might still be living in the pandemic. We don't really know, but.
And are going to be really happy to pass that along to folks once it gets on our website.
See, of course, I'm not coughing anymore now. Obviously.
All right. Whew. Kofi.
Oh, God.
You're up.
I think I'm feeling 4 on the cat scale today. What are you feeling? What cat are you feeling?
We've introduced ourselves this morning, and now it's your turn. It would be great if we knew who was in the house. So we want to, have you take a moment right now.
Maybe a 5. I could be a 5.
In your chat box and give us your name, if you would please, and if you feel comfortable sharing, what are your pronouns? And certainly feel free to add them to your Zoom name.
So can I just tell you guys, HG Tutor, who you guys know, I'm like basically obsessed with this guy. Like, he put out a video today. He's a narcissistic psychopath, like a real one. But every once in a while, he dabbles in like the woke culture stuff. And so he put out a video today complaining about the roll doll censorship that happened, and I covered it on the channel if you don't know what that is. And essentially, he was talking about how the person who was in charge of censoring roll doll was like a non-binary polyamorous autist or something like that. They had all of the different pronouns and verbiage, and he was reading this article about her, and it said, this person uses they, them pronouns. And then he was like, well, she's a woman. I am calling her she. And I was like, yeah. It was like the greatest thing I've ever heard. His righteous like, I'm not calling her they, them. It is a woman. I am calling her she. I was like, yes, HG Tutor. HG Tutor is about to be the hero we need in this fight against woke culture. I highly recommend everyone check out the video because it was fantastic. Oh, he talks about Meghan and Harry all the effing time, but that's not his interesting content. That's just the content he uses to like get views and stuff. But that's like not the most interesting content he does.
Your name tag there. See down there. These are just some
no,
examples
don't
of
cheat,
different
Starry.
pronouns that people use. So please put that with your name.
Ain't that the truth, Brooklyn?
And where you grew up. That would be interesting. I grew up in Southwest Detroit myself. And then on the scale, this unusual looking scale here, I know there's some cat lovers in the house and I'm one of them. But on a scale
I'm
of
not.
cat,
Cats
how
are
you
terrorists.
feeling today? So your name, I'm Kofi Doma. My pronouns, she, her, and hers. I grew up in Detroit. And today on a scale of cat, I think I'm feeling about maybe a 4 today. I'm a little on the sleepy side. So just take a moment to do that if you would, please. We would love it. Thanks.
Awesome. I'll give you another moment to pick out your cat. I'm totally with you, Kofi. I'm a little bit of a 4, although I feel like I might have a little 5 in me today too.
Uh-oh. Getting your coffee on though, right?
I know, right? I'm gonna be an 8 at the end of the coffee.
Yeah.
All right, here we go.
See if we get any 9s up in here. So keep them coming, keep them moving. We want to know who you are, where you're from. Thank you, thank you. Now we've got some group agreements.
Are there
We do
any
this for all of
taxpayers
our
in Michigan watching?
trainings.
I'm just curious.
We just want
Thank
to
you for
know we wanna
funding this
create
training. We all
space,
appreciate it.
for everyone to learn, to ask questions, have discussion, and feel like wherever you are is okay. All right. So, this isn't something that's been taught in our graduate school, undergrad school, high school. A lot of this information you may be hearing for the first time, second time, or what have you. You are here and we're glad you're here. So wherever you are is okay. We don't have any expectations about your level of knowledge as you come into this room. And remember that nobody
Judy's
knows
paying for this.
everything.
Thank you, Judy.
But at least together we know a lot. So that collective learning happens up in here. Also, we invite you to make room for discomfort. I think somebody's microphone might still be on or off mute or something. Just wanted to put that out there too. So making room for discomfort is a part of learning, part of cultural humility. When we do trainings
Cultural
like this, and learn new
humility.
information. So expect maybe some times of tension or discomfort, and that's okay in the room. That's okay in the room too, and that's a great way to learn sometimes too. We learn through our discomfort, but definitely we invite you to just take responsibility for your own learning. If you need to take notes or what have you, do what you need to do to pick up what we're trying to impart today. And if you could, please, it really helps to delay any kind of distractions, because we only get a little bit of time with each other today. And I know there are a lot of distractions that happen in our homes and in our offices. So however you do that, hey, it's up to you. And just remember, throughout the training, just, think about some things to reflect on, such as, our own experiences, looking at our own experiences and our own identities, our own privileges where we are, our own biases, help to shape our perceptions and what we do, our behavior, our actions. So please keep that in mind and take note of any kind of resistance to hearing the information or receiving the information. Just kind of, pay attention to that as we go along as well. That can happen sometimes. Be conscious of intent versus impact. So just keep in mind that no matter what your intention is, you're responsible for the impact. That goes for all of us. And just to remind you that systems of oppression are to be dismantled, and not each other. We're not dismantling each other. We want to dismantle the.
It's really good. It's really good to know that the Michigan Department of Education is calling to overthrow and disrupt systems. What are the 4 goals of the woke left, guys? The 4 goals of the woke left are always and forever: gain as much power as possible, destabilize the system, attack capitalism, usher in their Marxist utopia. We already have the official Michigan Department of Education woman saying that their goal is to dismantle the system. Almost exactly the same language I use. I'm sure that's just a coincidence.
Systems of oppression. So, for example, we
Oh,
need
God.
to call out on somebody.
Steve, I wish I had a
calling
burrito
somebody
right now.
out.
I'll tell you what.
Well, there's this word called calling someone in. It's just a courteous gesture of trust and respect and maintaining relationship with that person. Calling someone in so that we don't create barriers between us. And then lastly, hey, just take care of each other. Take care of yourself, of course. Take care of each other. Praise, lift up, celebrate, and love. This is adapted from Calling Up, and the references are at the bottom here. So those are our group agreements for today. And if those are okay with you, just kind of kindly raise your hand, look around, see who's got it. Okay, it looks like everybody's hand up. Even the imaginary hands are up. So I'll take those too. Okay, we all agree on these group agreements.
Thank you for
today.
paying for this training,
We're gonna
LK.
move
We
forward,
appreciate
and I'll
it.
tell you what we're going to cover today. Thank you. Thank you so much for participating in that. So at the end of this workshop, you'll be able to analyze key identities related to sexual orientation, gender identity, and gender expression, and accompanying language and terms. So we're going to be hearing a lot of terminology here today.
Kim is back.
We're going to also state the major health and educational risks that are faced by LGBTQ plus students. And we plan to help you identify next steps moving forward in supporting LGBTQ plus students and their family. And we'll even talk about what LGBTQ plus stands for as well. That might be helpful. So we'll be taking in a lot of information today, and feel free to put questions in the chat or any comments that you have in the chat, any knowledge base that you have in the chat. That'll be one way that we can communicate in the short time that we have today. So we like to show this map. We call it our road map.
You didn't take money. They gave you money that you gave them. They gave you money back after you gave them money.
And assumptions, and just
I
kind of
appreciate
setting the stage
the spirit
for our
though.
conversation today. And then we're going to explore identities, go through some definitions and terminology. And there's a certain way that we do it, which is a lot of fun. I think you'll appreciate. And then we're going to go through a journey of understanding the experiences of LGBTQ plus students in school, how we can help. And
they just gave you $200?
What to do? What are some strategies? What are some ideas? What are some tools that can be used? So identifying some next steps, and certainly we'll end with some closure.
Well, that would be something, Lady Hawk.
That's how we're going to roll today. There'll be a lot of information provided and very little time, but we aim to get it in, right, Kim?
Absolutely. All right. So we've been starting all our trainings with this slide for now it feels like a long time, for over a year now. And it's really just a recognition that while we're all sort of in this world, moving through the pandemic, moving through, all the racial injustice and the uprisings that have been happening and changes in political administrations, all the things, that while we're all sort of going through all of that, we're not all experiencing it in the same way. And so we just want to sort of bring to our attention just the idea that that our students, especially our LGBTQ plus students and our Black and Brown students, may be experiencing all of these things in ways that are different from our lived experiences. And so we want to just have an openness to sort of being aware of that we're all moving through the world a little bit differently, and our way might not be the only way. So just sort of like keep that in our mind as we kind of move through our time here together. All right, so we're gonna jump in here with our with a little game. We're gonna start kind of digging into that definitions and terminology piece that that Kofi was mentioning, and we're gonna do that with a.
In what universe does someone not know the definitions of these acronyms? Okay, let's play the game. Whatever.
Game here. So we're gonna break you into groups, and then your job as a group, these words here on the left, those are little cards that move around. And so you're going to take these cards and you're going to align them correctly with the definitions that match them. All right. And each group has 2 sets of slides. So you'll have 8 words total that you're going to be defining.
Are we just getting quiet? Oh. Okay. They just skipped through this. All right. We're going fast. We already know all the definitions. We don't need the definitions. We already know them. It's good to hear those definitions. See their definitions,
we're all
though.
here. So I just want to check in, see how did that go for folks? Oh, that was a question that I'm posing to the group. How was that? Thumbs up.
No, it's not.
Good.
Thank
You
you.
can use
thank
your
you.
reaction button if you want.
Yeah. Anybody have any questions? Anything sort of come up during your conversations as you were kind of navigating through those, navigating through the definitions? Any questions that came up? It felt great knowing the definitions. Yay! And it's okay if you didn't. It can feel good to have some clarity too. So it's all good. Let's see. Somebody had.
This woman is so creepy.
Adriana hadn't heard of cisgender before. Right. Yeah. Cisgender. I guess a couple folks had that experience.
Cisgender is a made-up word that means non-trans.
Too. Yeah, cisgender is probably the newest of the terms that are on there. And yeah, it refers to, folks when our physical body aligns with our internal sense of our gender, then we might identify as cisgender. Yeah. It's great. The detailed definitions, fantastic. All right. Well, feel free to drop any questions that you have in the chat as we're kind of moving through things. And we're going to dig in a little bit more around language and terminology here. In case you haven't been able to tell up to this point, we have a pretty informal presentation style and are happy to be interrupted. In fact, we
maybe
recommend
Murphy's
it, we
cool.
encourage it.
That's quite a profile
I think
image you've
sometimes
updated
taking
too.
yourself off of mute in a Zoom setting is harder than just raising our hand in an in-person setting. But just know that you're not interrupting us.
I bet she does love talking about kids.
Welcome your questions.
They all love talking about kids.
So by all means, please help us out with that, or help yourself out, I should say. And Kofi, I think you're up.
Yeah.
What the hell is this?
Thank you for participating in the matching game. I'm going to try to put some framing on it, some perspective on it.
It's a queer AI.
We talk about human
It's
variation.
like an ex machina, except it's queer.
Of identities. We're going to take in some of that information today. This is an entire spectrum or array of identities, but these are the ones that usually we come into contact with every day. I mean, everyone has a sex assigned at birth, a gender identity.
That's a very good question. Why is it squirting?
Orientation or attractional orientation. So we'll go through these one by one, so we can make sure we know distinctions and maybe some similarities and overlaps. I think we've probably heard most growing up about sex assigned at birth, and the designation at birth when a baby is born might be female, might be male, or might be intersex. And that's placed on the baby's birth certificate. In fact, I've got a niece going to be expecting in November, and I'm just so excited. And you hear about people having these gender reveal parties and things like that, right? So what's on the infant's birth certificate is their sex assigned at birth. It's typically determined by,
but that might not be their real gender,
which may or may not correspond with chromosomes, the hormones, the sexual and reproductive anatomy, the secondary sex characteristics, and all that. I know
just because a baby has a penis doesn't mean it's a boy
at birth.
Remember.
Then there's gender identity, and may I add, sex assigned at birth. You see the little flag or the little 3-colored thing next to sex assigned at birth. Look at the body there. And that's usually the area in which that's determined when a baby comes into the world. But now look at gender identity. Gender identity, we're going up to where? The brain, the head, right? So this is what
Exactly.
said,
How
it's a person's
inconsiderate, Stephen. She used
strong
a gendered
internal
word.
sense of knowing one's own
How dare
gender,
she?
regardless of the sex they were assigned at birth. So that's gender identity. And we talked about what cisgender was, right? Is when the sex assigned at birth may not be in alignment with the gender identity, or it may be aligned with their gender identity. So we'll be talking about some other terms, cisgender and transgender. So transgender is when sex assigned at birth does not match the gender identity. And then cisgender is when sex assigned at birth matches the gender identity. There are other terms such as gender non-binary, man, gender fluid, gender queer, gender non-conforming, bigender, woman, gender, and questioning. These are some other identities that you hear people identify with. So now
What
we're
does
going
this
from
mean?
the brain to
I don't know who
gender
this is.
expression. So if you look around this
So
caricature
welcome,
here,
I guess.
the outer presentation, how a person presents themselves in the world.
Bingo! Congratulations,
to
Stephen.
themselves and to others, maybe through what they have
Bingo
on,
for Kate.
their hairstyle,
Congratulations.
mannerisms, et cetera, et cetera. So that's our gender expression. And when we get up in the morning, we put on our clothes or whatever, that might be part of our gender expression, you know, and there's some terminology related to that as well. Left of femme, being a femme, being a butch.
Why,
being masculine
hang on.
presenting.
Why do the clothes that we wear represent an expression of our gender? Like, can't you just wear clothes because you like them? Like, why do we have to be making a political statement by the way we dress? You know what? I'm wearing a hoodie and a knit hat today because well, I don't know, like I wanted to feel cozy. And it's winter and it's cold and I like wearing hats that I knit and I think it looks cool. This is not an expression of my effing gender. It's because I wanted to feel cozy by wearing a hoodie. Like, not everything needs to be a political statement.
Being queer, being a stud, gender normative, gender fluid, gender neutral, and gender non-binary. There's a lot of terminology out there for us to learn. And then lastly, at least for today anyway, is sexual orientation. I'm sure that's a term you may have heard of before, or you call it attractionality. It's a person's experience of their emotional, romantic, and or sexual attraction to others. So where you see the heart and the chest, you know, we feel that attraction and you hear it, feel the heart pumping, and you got a crush on somebody and you want to get to know them. That's that attraction, that feeling. And we, you know, you can even, you know, a lot of children, or if you go back to your own childhood, you might remember having crushes when you were little. So that attractional or sexual orientation. So there's some corresponding.
Really? Really? How young do children get crushes? Because I mean, I don't know, maybe I did have a crush when I was 8, but I remember it in like high school. But how young are we talking about here? And why is that a topic for the Michigan Department of Education?
Terms that you may have heard, like pansexual. And I've come to believe that that is someone who is attracted to people, regardless of their sex assigned at birth, regardless of their gender identity, regardless of their gender expression, and on and on. Asexual, lesbian, straight, gay, bisexual, queer, questioning, demisexual, demiromantic, aromantic, and scoliosexual.
What the fuck is that?
I'll leave that to you to go to Google.
Scoliosexual?
We ain't got time today.
What the fuck is a scoliosexual? Hang on. I'm Googling it right now. Scoliosexual. Scoliosexuality is distinct from, hang on. Scoliosexual is sexual attraction to transgender people. The term scoliosexual has been spread with greater awareness, inclusion, and visibility of non-binary terms, blah, blah, blah. What the hell? Hang on, let me show you guys this. One sec. Boop. Scoliosexual. What does it mean to be scoliosexual? Scoliosexual is a relatively new term that refers to people who are attracted to people who are transgender or non-binary, but anyone can be non-binary. What, how do you even know someone's non-binary? Literally anyone can be non-binary. According to one source, the term dates back to 2010 and has mostly been used in the LGBTQIA communities and on websites like Tumblr and Reddit. Well, therein lies the problem. This is a Tumblr and Reddit term. It ultimately means different things to different people. Oh, great. So definitions mean nothing anymore. Many people ponder whether the term is even needed. Yeah, I think that's true. Yeah, I think we do. All right. So that's what scoliosexual means. You're all welcome. You learn something new every day. Let's get back to it.
But I just wanted to take you through that on all of these are people lying on a spectrum.
I'm Scolio Money
of
too,
various
Leonard.
variations of identity. They don't always
Yeah,
necessarily
everything
line up
makes
the way
sense
that
now. It's
we,
very clear.
assume them to be. So, so any questions about unpacking the alphabet
No.
on this slide? Any questions? You can always put them in the chat as well.
Yeah, Michelle, I see you got your hand up.
Yes, hello. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, we
Yep.
can.
Okay, so I'm always trying to show up as the best ally and educator and learner that I can be. So for many years, I used the genderbread poster in school.
Fucking
But I have
genderbread
been
man.
seeing on different social justice groups and so forth that I'm on that is discouraged because it may not be entirely correct. But I'm starting to see the unicorn as a great depiction that I can pass on to the
Now, we all know the genderbread man, right? We've seen this in Burlington, Vermont repeatedly. They use both the gender unicorn and the genderbread man, but this is the first I'm hearing that the genderbread man might be discouraged because it's not correct and they've evolved to the unicorn from the genderbread man. Wow. Does anyone know why the genderbread man has like why they have a problem with the gender? Starry's already got 4 bingos. We're definitely getting a blackout bingo today. Can someone can you please find out why people have a problem with the genderbread man
staff
as the chief investigative officer?
in my building and my students. So I don't want to take up too much time, but I was
It is
wondering
probably
if you
because
have
it's
any
a man.
suggestions
This
for
is
a visual.
This is actually probably the answer. They probably have a problem with the genderbread man because it's a man. That's why they moved over to the unicorn. So they could be more appealing to the furries and the transhumanists.
I don't want to say I'm uncomfortable. I just would like to know how you feel about a unicorn, because it's a mythical creature. It's not
is
real,
so
and
great.
neither is a genderbread, but I just want a way that I could visualize this the best way. So if you have any recommendations or suggestions, and if this is a question for later, I apologize for interrupting. So thank you.
I'm sorry, Lindsay.
No apologies necessary, Michelle. Thank you for the questions. We really love getting questions.
Please say it's because it's a man.
Very, very good.
Please say
questions.
because it's a man.
Sometimes we get that a lot of times. There are a lot of questions within that question. So Kim and I are kind of tag team on that. But
Yeah.
certainly the genderbread person has been used in the past.
See, she changed it to person.
As a general way.
It is because
visual
it's a
way to
man.
look. And there are all sorts of different learning tools, especially when you're teaching adults about these kinds of terms. So the genderbread person came up, and there's so many different versions
Congratulations,
of
Stephanie.
it, by the way, and different breakdowns of identity, just to help people learn.
It was a
what we're
metrosexual
talking
man.
about.
Okay.
And so the
That might be
gender
why.
unicorn is more specific to gender as well, and that's been used as well. And there are reasons why people switch from from one to the other. I actually made up my own.
It's not a
when
cookie
I do
cast. It's a
trainings, I make
political
up my
statement.
own and put these categories in. So, you know, however
You
you
can't
get
just
the
have cookies
information out
anymore.
and what's going to be helpful.
They fucking
and
ruin
how you
everything.
can, connect learners, people who want to learn, to this information. So that's a little quick bit of that. Maybe Kim can add to that.
Yeah, I'll just add one bit, which is that so the genderbread person was developed by it was created by a straight white cisgender guy, and there's some historical.
Oh my God! We can't use the genderbread man because, well, also it's a genderbread. It's a person. It's not a man. It's a genderbread person, and we can't use it because it was developed by a straight white cisgender man. Everyone drink to that. Everyone drink. Cheers. Folks, this is why we do happy hour, for moments like this. If you don't think that's getting clipped and put on the internet, you are out of your mind. Fast Donnie says scoliosexual. Thanks for breaking that Greek down like Gus Portocalis. Thank you, Fast Donnie. Welcome to the channel. This is what we do. Guys, welcome to Happy Hour. If this is your first time at Happy Hour, we watch woke trainings from start to finish. We watch the boring bits. We watch the cringy bits. We do it every Friday at 5 p.m. And of course, we do it with drinks to make it more tolerable. If you're drinking something fun, please let us know in the chat. If this is your first time here, I hope you will first mount that like button for me, and then make sure you're subscribed to the channel. You can join us for Happy Hour every week, and you can also join us for Socialism Saturday tomorrow at 6 p.m., which is, if you like this stuff, Socialism Saturday is the most dystopian thing you'll watch all week. Breaking the Flaw, Carlin, make sure you put pieces of your artwork at gallery night. I will put pieces of my artwork at gallery night, Joa. Don't worry about it, all right? All right, guys, let's keep going.
Concern that he took the concepts that are in it from folks within the trans community, and that and that's problematic. The gender unicorn that you're talking about was created by trans folks.
Oh, there we go.
And so there is so there's that sort of you know, as you're talking about kind of from a social justice perspective, like what's the version that we want to use. My understanding is that the creator of the genderbread person has sort of over time, that genderbread person's been around for a long time, and that he has really tried to sort of make it right in terms of the work that he's done and how he's developed and evolved the genderbread person.
What did he do that was
and really
wrong?
been open to learning.
He made a
from
figure.
his mistakes.
He made a cartoon.
We have used the genderbread person in the past. We've also used the gender unicorn. I think it just depends on who your audience is and what information you're trying to share. Some are easier to follow than others, especially for folks who are kind of newer to the concepts. Some can just feel there's a lot of information on them, and so it can be hard to kind
Lemon
of take
tea
in.
with rum. What an inspired choice.
Shifted actually to using this version. This comes from somebody here in Michigan, an artist here in Michigan, who created it and worked with folks, and I'm happy to share it out.
We're gonna call this the gender Ex Machina. I watched Ex Machina so I'd seen Ex Machina when it came out. It's a great movie about AI. Everyone should watch Ex Machina. But I watched it last week. I was like, I'm in the mood to watch Ex Machina for some reason. This is fucking the gender Ex Machina.
As I believe she has said that that's okay to do. So I should probably check in with Autumn first. But this is, I really like this one. I think it's, I like that it's a local artist who did it and worked, you know, is a member of the LGBT community. And yeah, but there are lots of different versions, as Kofi was saying, you know, it just depends on kind of what you're trying to do and accomplish. And I don't know that there's a bad version
The
or
gender
a good version. It's just sort
Terminator.
of knowing what you're using so that you can, you know, talk about any caveats that feel important to mention.
Exactly. Gosh, we thank you for the question, Michelle. And you know, I've used it as a tool for family therapy, you know, teaching the parents you know, and it's a quick, easy, colorful way sometimes, and you might create your own way of getting the information out. So thanks again for the question.
Awesome. All right. So, so we have done a lot of talking, and as we mentioned, I guess we didn't actually mention this, but we always like to bring the voices of young people into our training. So in an online space,
Oh no.
One way that we can
Oh
do that.
no. Oh no. Oh no. So we need to set a ground rule, because when they bring students into their trainings, which it sounds like they're about to do, is to bring students into their trainings, videos of students in their trainings are some of the most effective tools that we have to fight back against the woke left. However, we need to lay a ground rule in the chat right now. We do not make fun of students in these trainings. We do not mock students in the chat, because the students are a victim of this ideology. They are a victim. They are being taught by adults that they trust. They're not doing anything wrong. They're doing what the adults tell them to do. And also, everything that you chat on YouTube is public information. And my happy hours have actually been covered in the media. This is real. I had a progressive newspaper in Vermont write a whole series. Not a whole series, a whole fucking long article. I gave myself too much credit there, but it was a long article about my happy hours. And they talked about the happy hours. They do watch the happy hours. And I want everyone to be aware of this, because anything that you say in a public chat on YouTube can be used against us by, like, a New York Times reporter. And apparently the New York Times has been sniffing around me lately, and I don't really like that idea. But I just want everyone to be aware. I don't want anything said in the chat that can be used against us. And I think that mocking children is a really easy way for them to use it against us. And so please, I'm asking everyone to just be adults. We are watching the training that's sponsored by the Michigan Department of Education. It sounds like they're bringing kids into it. Don't make fun of the kids. Don't mock the kids. Don't do anything that you might regret later if it gets covered in the media, because it's not only going to reflect on you, it's going to reflect on me, and it's going to reflect on what we're trying to do here. So please be good. That's all I'm asking.
That is through TikTok videos. And so we are going to share a handful of TikTok videos here.
Oh, they're just doing TikTok. Thank God.
Scattered throughout the training.
Oh,
A
thank
couple
God.
of things to keep in mind. The first is
I
that
always
the
get so, like,
volume on these
anxiety
is,
ridden
like,
when they have
all over
kids.
the map. So I would just recommend, I've got the volume turned up as high as it will go on them, but just know that some of them it's a little lower, some it's a little higher. So
still, don't make fun of the kids in the TikToks. Don't do it. We don't make fun of kids on this channel.
And then
no mocking the kids.
So the first set here are folks who identify, these are all about gender identity. And then the next slide is going to be about gender expression. So trying to sort of differentiate between these two concepts. Yeah, so here are the voices of some folks talking about gender identity.
We can't make fun of them. They're kids. No, please.
Hi guys. So I've been getting a lot of questions about my pronouns recently, which makes sense because I'm a very androgynous person. But last night at about 2 a.m. I put in my bio that I identify as agender, which is different than non-binary, because non-binary is like neither gender, right? Agender is like the gray area between genders. It's neutral. And I feel that way because I don't like being associated or conforming to the stereotypes of either gender. So really any pronouns work: she, her, they, them, he, him, just whatever y'all feel like at the moment. It's all good. Thank you. I just met these children who were like 2 years old, 3 maybe, 4, I don't know. And anyways, one of them went, "Are you a girl?" And I said, "Well, when I was born, the doctor said I was a girl, but that's not really how I feel." I said, "I'm not a girl or a boy." And they went, "Oh, that's called transgender. I read a book about it." Oh, the children are giving me hope.
Uh-huh.
So, to be honest, I was a boy first, then a girl, and now I'm a man. Let me explain. So, my mother got pregnant. They told her that she was having a boy. She was going to name me Jeremiah. So, you know, she bought all the boy stuff, did the whole 9 yards, and then she pushed me out, and I was a girl. by the age of 9, like I already knew that I did not want to wear girls' clothes, that I wanted to wear boys' clothes. And when I was like 14, 15, I was like a little stud. And then by the time I was like 17 and a half, I was like, you know what? This little feminine shit is just not cutting it for you, boy. You know what I'm saying? So I started my transition when I was 18. I'm 21 now, so I've been transitioning for nearly 3 years, 3.5 years now. You know what I'm saying? Next step, we about to get this breast tissue up out of here, so I don't have this no more.
I remember the first time I heard gender fluid, I was like, does that mean that you just feel yourself as both? You don't have a limitation to gender? I was like, wow. It's like, that's beautiful. That makes me feel so much more at home.
And so again, now we're transitioning from gender identity to gender expression.
Oh my God, he's wearing a skirt. I know, right? It looks so good on him. What? No, he looks like a girl. Excuse me? Only girls wear skirts. What is he doing? Only girls wear skirts? You know, skirts were originally made for men. Men used to be the ones who always wore skirts. Then why are skirts in the girls section of stores? Because society decided that for some effed up reason, clothes should be given a gender.
Yes.
I just don't get why a
TikTok
guy would wear one.
education.
No.
Aren't you guys all thrilled that teachers in Michigan, sponsored by the Michigan Department of Education, are being trained using TikTok videos? It's thrilling for us all.
I don't get why your masculinity is so fragile that a man being comfortable in the clothes he's wearing affects you in any way. And why you feel you have any place to comment when you dress like the weird uncle from an early 2000s Disney show.
Beautiful, just like you were an angel. Can I show these girls that I own them. Some call me Nikki, I'm some woman. Skeezer, please, I'm in a visa. Just like he's a Nike, my own sneaker. Sexy, that's all I do. My mama told me never bow your head. I feel glorious, glorious. Got a chance to start again. I was born for this, born for this.
All right. We're going to have a chance to connect again. I'm going to break into small groups.
Oh God,
so
look at this.
All of the information that we've been sharing with you here.
Kids have a sense of their gender identity between the ages of 3 and 5.
Groups that about sort of what to expect when it comes to development of.
This is why they're celebrating kids coming out in elementary school, because they think that kids know their gender identity between the ages of 3 and 5. So that's why they're pushing for all of this stuff to happen in elementary school. This is why we have a rash of detransitioners right here.
Of these different identities that we have, kids have a sense of their gender identity between the ages of 3 and 5. So about the time that kids have language, they can start to share with us whether they're a boy or a girl. Usually those are the only things that they will identify as, because those are the only options we've given them. So just to get a sense of kind of when that happens, when that development happens. And then when it comes to our attractionality or our sexual orientation, that those are, that's something, an identity that we sort of come into a little bit later in elementary. So between the ages of 10 and 12 is about the average. So, and again, these are sort of generalizations, but it gives you kind of a sense of what sort of normal development kind of looks like and what the timeline for that might look like for young people. Certainly not for everybody, but in general. All right. So we are, we're going to break into groups now. We're going to put you in small groups here, and I'm going to stop sharing my screen. And we're going to break you into small groups, and your job as a group is really just to reflect on kind of what we've talked about so far. We've shared a lot of information about identities and language and terminology. So the two things to be thinking about are just kind of what are your initial reactions to all this information, and And what, yeah, are there any sort of lingering questions that you still have? All right.
Does anyone want to take a moment to reflect on what our reactions have been to what's been covered so
I
far?
do want to just open it up and see if there are any, in the brief time that you did have, was there anything that anybody wanted to lift up from your conversations, or any questions that came up that that you wanted to bring to us?
I can share. I don't have my camera on, but
That's okay. That's okay.
I really like, one of the things that we reflected on was just how social media can be used in a positive way, and it's interesting because like I'm queer and non-binary, and growing up, like there wasn't a community at school, so a lot of times I found that online. And I was looking at some data recently, and it's actually really common for a lot of LGBTQ plus students to like find community online. And so I don't know, it's inspiring to see young people using TikTok, because like I'm on TikTok, but like I don't see young people on TikTok because like it curates it to, you know, all the algorithms. But it's so cool to just see like some like the young people like feeling empowered to like share and express themselves. So it's really cool to see that.
Yeah, absolutely. I know we hear a lot of, especially recently, we've heard a lot of, you know, sort of negative things about social media and the negative impact that it can have. And also recognizing that, especially for our LGBTQ plus students, that, and for our LGBTQ plus students who are in areas where there aren't like local community groups, or there isn't a student group, like a Gender and Sexuality Alliance, GSA student group, that connecting with other young people in an online space can be really positive and healthy, and important for them to have that sense of community and sense of belonging. So that's great. Thanks, Heather. Somebody asked a question in the chat too, if students identified their gender, not their sex, just to clarify, if we have a sense of our gender identity between 3 and 5, but it can sort of evolve over time too, then is that where gender fluidity comes from?
Huh.
Yeah, it
What?
certainly can be. Our, you know,
What they just said is we have a good sense of our identity by the time we're 3 to 5. But if our gender identity, if our perception of our gender identity changes after the age of 3 to 5, do you know what that means, guys? That means you're gender fluid. Congratulations. If you don't know in your heart of hearts what your true gender identity is at the age of 5, then that just means you're gender fluid.
we come to know ourselves, and our understanding of ourselves, you know, evolves over time, which is true for any of us. That exploration can certainly, and that sort of that coming to understand ourselves can, you know, like I said, it evolves, and some of that evolution can lead us to understand ourselves as being more gender fluid as opposed to sort of one or the other. And I would also just recognize that, you know, when our gender identity is in sort of those early stages of understanding, we're often given binary options. We have one or the other. You're a boy or you're a girl, and those are the only two options that kids are most often provided. And so if I come to understand myself as not really fitting into that, but I might have, if those are the only two words I have to choose from, then I might sort of pick the one that seems to fit best for me, or pick the one that has been told to me is the right one for me. And so so that sort of understanding of ourselves can certainly shift over time.
And if it helps to know, a lot of cultures have actually more than one or more than two genders, or multiple genders. If you wanted to do some deep diving in the
Infinite
research
genders.
and such.
And you get a gender, and you get a gender.
You know, when a kid, a student may not conform to a particular gender identity, what sometimes happens to them is they might also get left out. And so that's what's so important about these trainings, is to know and understand what a lot of these youth go through. So something to keep in mind.
Absolutely. Thanks, Kofi. Somebody has a great question in the chat too about working with parents who
Oh, here we
who
go.
might not be supportive or
Here we
might
go.
not sort of might not be in a place where they feel ready or able to support their kid who is maybe using different name or pronouns than the parents gave
Conservative
them
is
at
what they
birth.
mean.
And suggestions on how to work with parents. Kofi, do you want to? You've got a lot of experience working with families and young people. Is there anything that you would offer to folks related to this?
Yeah, there's no cookie cutter approach, of course, but you use your own judgment about safety being the highest priority, the safety for the child, for the young person, and considering that and having the young person.
So what this person is saying is that if parents go to the schools and say, I don't think that my child is gender fluid or non-binary or the opposite gender than which they were born, and I'm not going to allow you to teach them that they are, then what the Michigan Department of Education is training training teachers to do is to say to parents, the safety of your child is of the utmost, and your child might literally die if you don't affirm their newly selected gender identity. So they're trying to hold the parents emotionally hostage, essentially.
To be the lead on which direction you go in, and it depends on how old the child is and all these different factors, of course. But having some kind of conversation at some point between the parent, the child, maybe the teacher, and what have you. It all depends on the situation. I know at the Ruth Ellis Center, we have a family preservation program set up there where they have experts there that could become resources for families, for example. And teachers and school personnel can also call the family preservation program there to get some advice and suggestions on the particular child that they're working with. So, but there are strategies that have been used to make these connections for the young person and keeping the young person centered in terms of their health and well-being and safety. So that's the quick version for you.
Yeah. Thanks so much. And I guess I would just add a couple of things. First is to recognize that as a school that you have a really unique role to play because you can be that bridge between and sort of mediate between the family and the student to really try to help maintain that connection as best as possible. And again, keeping in mind the safety of the young
That's not the
person
function of
involved.
the school.
And recognizing that family is a really important protective factor for young people if the family is not causing harm. And so anything that you can do to help maintain and support that relationship is really important and can be really beneficial. There's an organization called the Family Acceptance Project that I know Ruth Ellis Center has worked really closely with over the years, and they've developed some really, really helpful materials that Lori has, and Tracy, thanks Tracy Hobbs, has dropped in the chat box there that are really can be helpful for those conversations when you're working with families. So I definitely recommend checking those out. Ryan, I see you raised your hand. What can we do for you?
Our group talked about wanting to be good allies, but then worrying about because this part of our community and society has become so much more better at defining who and what they are and what they want, that we worry about doing harm by not being as well educated and saying the wrong thing. I've been an ally since the 90s, and that was easy. It was gay, straight, bi, and that's it. And if you knew that and you could support that, then you were a good ally. And now today it's like, like your infographic, there's 3 different infographics demonstrated today, and there's pitfalls and advantages to all of them. And so our group talked about that.
You're not a good ally
group partner
if you
was like,
use the
I just
gender
need to know
brand.
more because I don't want to accidentally hurt anybody. So
yeah, I think there's so many folks who I think could probably resonate with that, myself included. And I guess I will just say I want to let you off the hook a little bit here, which is that you're never going to know all the words and all the different ways that people identify themselves,
Because you're just going to make new shit up all the time
and have all the answers. And I don't know that that's your job.
How could
really,
anyone
and
possibly?
that's not necessarily how the only way to be an ally is to sort of know all the information. The information is really important, and making sure that you're, doing your own work in terms of being informed. But, if you're, if you have a student who comes out to you, you can always, I highly recommend to folks always saying, like, well, thank you so much for sharing that information with me. Can you say more about what that means to you? I want to make sure I understand. And then you're off the hook. You don't have to have all the answers. You're allowing that student to share their own identity, what that means to them. They're able to talk about their own experience, which is really empowering. It builds relationship between you and them. And so that's a way that sort of you don't have to have all the answers right in the moment, and really letting the student kind of guide that process and let them lead the way. And if you do make a mistake, then you own it and you apologize and you make it right and you move forward. And when we know better, we do better. Maya Angelou has such a fantastic a quote about that. And so that's a really important sort of to keep in mind as we're trying to be great allies in this work.
Mm-hmm. And may I add also, I want to kind of bring intersectionality in for a moment.
Intersectionality.
People of color in the room as well. When it comes to allyship, it's important to have everybody aboard. And oftentimes when we have these kind of trainings on learning about LGBT plus people, we don't typically see a lot of people of color, and we typically don't see a lot of men. All right. And that speaks volumes there about what an ally can do is reaching out to those who are not coming to these trainings. And we need allies for Black and Brown communities, BIPOC communities, to have allies that look like them and support them in community. So when we have trainings like this, reaching out to different people of diverse communities to come on into these trainings, and sometimes each one reach one kind of thing. For example, if you identify as a man, tell other men about how this training is. If you're a person of color and you enjoyed the training, got something out of it, tell other people of color, because Black children, brown children, indigenous children, Asian American children need to have people who look like them to understand this information and to have support, to engender support in the community and support. So anyway, I wanted to bring intersectionality into this conversation as well, and the people of color that are in the room. Thank you for being here, and the men in the room too. Thank you for being here.
Yeah, thank you so much. All right, great. Well, fantastic conversation. There's some really wonderful comments in the chat as well. So I just want to draw your attention to that as we kind of move forward here. And I'm going to share my screen again. And all right, Kofi, do you want to?
Yes, we've had some great discussion up in here. Yeah, we wish we had more time, but these are times that we can do self-reflection as well.
There's 40 minutes left in this training. You do have more time. There's literally 40 minutes left.
And reflect on your immediate reactions on what we just talked about. What did you notice? What were some feelings that were coming up for you? What were some thoughts that were coming up for you? If there's any resistance or going in that direction, or is there, I want to know more, I hunger for more, what do you want to remember about this portion so far? So let's just take a moment to do that.
Do you guys want to reflect?
All right.
Oh, okay.
We're gonna keep moving forward here. So we've been sitting for a long time. It's just an invitation to, to stretch, move your body, do whatever you need to so that you can take a deep breath, whatever it is, so that you can still be present in your body, all that good stuff. All right. So we are gonna, young people can tell us about their lives both through videos and through sharing their own stories verbally. They also can tell us a lot about their experiences through data, through sort of surveys that they complete. And we want to take a few moments here I'm going to go through some data. I'm going to go through it kind of quickly here. So just know that you will have access to this information afterwards. So you don't have to like scramble to write down, statistics that seem to resonate with you. So when it comes to our LGBT students here in Michigan, the data that we have comes mostly from the Michigan Youth Risk Behavior Survey, which is a biannual survey. It comes from the Centers for Disease Control. States all across the country use this survey. In Michigan, we ask students and have asked for many years.
As a reminder, if you have not opted your children out of surveys in school, you need to call the school today and tell them that your children are not allowed to complete any of these surveys. You have to opt your kids out. The school is not going to ask you for permission. You have to opt your kids out because they will use this information against your kids. There is no reason that they need to know it.
They identify as lesbian, gay, or bisexual, so LGB. And then in 2017, we started allowing students to self-identify as transgender. So in this data, you'll see that the acronym we use is LGBT. We don't include the Q because we don't know how many students are identifying as questioning or queer. And so we're just talking about LGBT students specifically. And this is public high school students here in Michigan. So what we know from our public high school students is that about 13% identify as LGBT. So in an average classroom, that's about 4 students, and in a school.
And you also, if you're opting your kids out of these surveys, you also have to tell your kids not to answer the surveys. And not just one time. You have to train your children to not answer these surveys. Because what the teachers do is they try to get sneaky about it. And so if you just tell your kids one time, they'll be like, okay, yeah, sure. They're not going to listen. They're not going to understand why. You have to train your children to not answer these surveys.
Of 1,000, we're looking at about 130 kids who
fall
into
no,
this category.
queer is,
and again, we know this
queer
is
whatever they want it to be, Cooley.
It doesn't include
whatever they want it
students,
to be.
Which, we know is a good portion of our students, which is completely developmentally appropriate that they would be sort of figuring out who they are. That's their job.
Hang on. Bot is making a joke, but I want to make a point off of the joke that Bot is making, and I know this is a joke, but Bot says, what if you train your kids to answer the surveys in a crazy way so they become meaningless? The school will use that information against your kids. So I understand that this is a joke, Bot, and you're having fun, like whatever, that's allowed, fine. But this is not a good idea because the school is going to use this information against your kids. As good, it could create all sorts of snafus that you haven't thought about. All right. So this is not a good idea.
Adolescents. So this number is probably an underrepresentation. When it comes to the racial and ethnic breakdown, our LGBT students are just as racially and ethnically diverse as the rest of our student population. And when we look at the experiences of our LGBT students and compare them to their heterosexual and cisgender peers, what we find is that our LGBT students are, they're about 3 times as likely to have been threatened or injured with a weapon at school. They're about twice as likely to have been bullied at school or in an online setting. So, and I think, again, this is just important to keep in mind as our classrooms are moving and have moved over the last year or so from an in-person to online to back in person, kind of what that experience might be like for our LGBT students. And then you can imagine if this is your, your daily lived experience, that I don't want to really spend 8 hours a day in that setting where I'm being, threatened and harassed and bullied. So we do see that our LGBT students are more likely to skip school, much more likely to skip school because they felt unsafe. And if you're not in school, a natural consequence is that your grades are going to reflect that. And so we see, lower grades for this population of students as well. I just want to sort of pause here for a moment to recognize that, sometimes when we talk about statistics like this, we think like, oh, this is like a moment in time that they're, that this happened in high school, but like once they get out of high school, like they have a different experience. And that may be the case, but it's also the case that students who have these high school experiences, this doesn't just impact their high school experience. If I don't enjoy school in high school, then I'm much less likely to go on to post post K-12 education. If I graduate at all, right? So if I'm not doing well in school, I might not graduate. That's going to impact my pay over my lifetime. It's going to impact my access to health insurance. All of these things are not just about sort of how our high school experience is, but can also impact our entire life trajectory. So really wanting to sort of put that in perspective so that we can sort of have a sense of urgency about the importance of addressing these issues. When we also know that, I think that we're much more comfortable as adults talking about the idea of peer-to-peer bullying and harassment. We're much less comfortable recognizing and naming adult to students bullying and harassment that does happen. We have about 1 in 6 of our LGBT students heard school staff make homophobic comments or anti-LGBT comments. 1 in 3 LGBT students heard school staff make negative comments about a person's gender expression.
So you guys are not going to believe this. This is separate from the presentation. This is for the wonderful community members that I have that sent me this glorious gift basket earlier today. Carrie Smith's Twitter horde right now is claiming that I sent myself the gift basket, and they're tracking down the website that the gift basket came from. And they're basically saying that you don't exist and that I sent it to myself. No, I'm not going to show you because I don't want to give them, I don't want people to give them any attention, to be honest. But I just think that's funny. So apparently I sent this wonderful gift basket to myself. And they're that obsessed with me that right now on Twitter, they are trying to track down the website on which you purchased the gift basket. So, yes, they are deranged. Yes, they are. They think that all you guys are me. They think that all of you are me, and that I'm somehow managing to do this, like playing all of these parts. Isn't that fun? All right, Shelly, thank you for the super chat. Soon they will begin to say children are able to consent to a sexual act. I never wanted to believe it, but it's going to happen. Oh yeah, Shelly, it's absolutely going to happen. 100%. It's called minor attracted person. That's a whole. I got banned from Medium, permanently banned from Medium for writing an article about how minor attracted people should not be kindergarten teachers. That's not a joke. That happened in real lives. No, Steven, they don't have lives. They just obsess about me all day, every day. They're watching right now. Everyone wave to Carrie Smith's Twitter horde. Hi. It's true. Anyway, let's keep going.
It's really important that we name this, that we acknowledge it for what it is, which is a form of bullying and harassment, and that it puts us at legal liability as districts if our staff are treating our students this way. And if you are an administrator in a school setting, it is our responsibility to address this behavior, to call it out for what it is, and to make sure that it stops. And if this is sort of your lived experience in school, it's understandable that almost half of our LGBT students feel disconnected. They don't feel that sense of belonging that we know is a predictor of academic success. All right. Just want to drop a young person's voice into this conversation here.
Good.
I am a triple threat. I'm depressed, anxious, and gay.
I know that this young person is sort of making light of their experience, but it's also very real. We know that our LGBT students are at greater risk for things like anxiety and depression. They are more likely to engage in self-harm, to have experienced trauma. They're also more likely to have been experiencing unstable housing, so being kicked or pushed out of their home, couch surfing, things like that. And unfortunately, I think one of the most startling and disturbing statistics that we have is that nearly a quarter of our LGBT high school students here in Michigan have attempted suicide in the last 12 months. That's more than 4.5 times the rate of their non-LGBT peers. And is really, I think, speaks to sort of the epidemic of bullying and harassment that we have, and that really needs to be addressed. When it comes to our transgender students, they're also sort of disproportionately at risk, and we have policies in place that impact their sort of daily lived experiences as well. So things like not being able to have their name and pronoun used in school. Almost a quarter of our transgender students have been prevented from using their name or pronoun.
How?
About 1 in 3 were prevented from.
How has anyone prevented anyone from using a name? That makes no sense.
Using the bathroom that aligned with their gender identity. I just want to stop here and have folks really think about what it would mean for you to go 8 hours a day while you were in school and not be able to use the restroom, and how that might impact your ability to teach, how that might impact your ability to really be present for your students. And think about that's the experience that many of our transgender students are having right now. Nearly 1 in 5 were also prevented from wearing clothing because it was considered inappropriate for their gender.
I don't believe that. Things that didn't happen. Things that didn't happen for 500. Michael, hello, Carrie Smith's Twitter horde. I am British Carlin, or something. Spare. Well, because you're British, Michael. They're not going to believe that, by the way. They're not going to believe that you're actually from there, but automatically suspect. I appreciate the super chat, my friend. Thank you. Carrie Smith someday is going to write a memoir called Wah. It's going to happen. Someone clip this and make it a prediction.
So, and then you can see they also have increased rates of missing school, of being away from home, of suicide, all of these things. Our policies have an impact on the daily lived experiences of our students and really impact their ability to learn on a daily basis, which is, what we're here to do, is to teach them. All right, so I'm just going to share a few videos here that really talk about names and pronouns, and just
more
TikTok. Want to really encourage folks to
Yay!
reflect on the impact that this has on that using name and pronouns has on these students. And
Yes,
these young
they
people
are.
our
Hang
surveys
on.
are talking
I want to
about.
make sure to address Jeff's point. So they are making policy based on how children are answering these wacky surveys. Yes, they are, Jeff. Yes, they are. And some of the policies that they're making may include eliminating the requirement to tell parents when kids change their name and pronouns in school. So this is real. I know you're kind of making fun, and I get why, but this is a real thing. Again, guys, if you just joined us recently, we are watching a training that was sponsored by the Michigan Department of Education. I got this training because someone sent me a link to a Google Drive where the Michigan Department of Education hosts all of its trainings and stores all of its videos. So this is not abstract. This is not some rinky-dink training outlet. This is quite literally the Michigan Department of Education. Please mount that like button if you appreciate that I'm bringing this to you on this glorious Friday evening. Cheers, guys. If you're drinking something fun for happy hour, let me know in the chat.
About their experience in a positive way.
So I just wanna point it out there that I got called Miss today. Like I was buying hair care stuff, and he said, "Will that be all today, Miss?" I'm like, ooh, that felt good.
To start off today's story time, I was in the Dollar Tree looking like this. Obviously a snack, but I knew people would not love it. Anyways, there was this grandma that had her 2 grandchildren with her. The first one looked at me, looked at his grandma, and said, "He's wearing heels. Why?" The second one said that I looked awesome. The grandma looked at them both, one after the other, looked at one of them, and said that their comment was not okay. I immediately think that she's going to scold the one that said I looked good because, she's like 80. But she looked at them both and said, he can dress however he wants to, and you two should dress how you want to. After this whole thing went down, she found me in another aisle and told me that I look awesome and that I should never change. Hit me right in my heart. I needed that.
Hi everyone. I know no one is probably gonna see this, but if you do see this and you're on the right side of TikTok, hi, my name is Elise. I've used she, her pronouns all my life, but recently and for a while I've been struggling with gender issues as well as a whole lot of other identity things.
Probably induced by the
So
schools.
I finally gave in and ordered a binder for myself, and it just came in today. And I have never been happier with how my body looks since I was a kid. So if you guys wouldn't mind using they them pronouns to refer to me in the comments, that would be really, really cool. I'm just trying to see if they make me more comfortable than she, her pronouns.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. And if you go to the Trevor Project website, you'll find.
I really felt that last TikTok right in the feels. Did anyone else like that? Oh, God. And again, we have a rule where we don't make fun of kids on this channel. We will never make fun of kids on this channel because they are victims of this ideology. But like, I'm not making fun of her. I feel so bad. That video made me feel sad because it's obviously a young person. I'll respect the pronouns for the moment. A young person who has been taught, who is uncomfortable going through puberty, which, like, welcome to the club. It happens. That is looking towards the internet for validation. And it's really sad. And I mean, listen, I'm a libertarian. I don't believe in the government banning things. I don't believe the government should exist. So I don't think the government should be allowed to like ban social media or anything. But man, do I think that we would be a lot better off if teenagers were not allowed to use social media. I think parents should be parents. I don't think the government should ban it, but would it inadvertently solve a lot of problems if the government did ban the use of TikTok and Tumblr and Reddit and all of these other things? Would it solve a lot of problems? We would probably be better off in like, in terms of like dealing with this bullshit. I have very mixed feelings about it. There's some things I'm like, again, I don't think the government should exist. So I have a really hard time saying the government should ban something. But as a practical solution in the short term, I struggle with that. Jeff, thank you so much for the super chat. These children are victims of brainwashing, in my opinion. Yes, Jeff, that's exactly right. And that's why, like, I really struggle with accounts like Libs of TikTok because, like, I feel like, oftentimes they're making fun of adults, which I don't mind that. But, like, when they're making fun of kids, I really struggle with that because they're victims just as much as anyone else.
Find there's been a couple of studies on associations between affirming one's pronoun and contemplating dying by suicide. If you go to it's Trevor Project, put it in the chat later. But we're going to move on to LGBTQ students and school discipline. Oh, another thing about pronouns is if you introduce yourself with your pronouns in your classes, in the hallway, every time you interact with a child, that can make a ton of difference. So in terms of school discipline here, nearly half of LGBTQ students who had missed school because of feeling unsafe had been disciplined at school. 1 in 3 reported being sent to principal's office, receiving detention, in school or out of school suspension, and or expulsion from school. LGBTQ students experiencing higher rates of victimization also experienced high rates of discipline. This slide is from a national report, and school discipline practices contributing to a pathway to juvenile detention in the school to prison pipeline. And in this report, LGBTQ students experience school discipline at a higher rate and also with more severe consequences than their peers. They're often blamed for their victimization, or they're inaccurately perceived to be a perpetrator, which may explain why students with higher rates of victimization also experience high rates of discipline. And we see patterns of disparities in discipline by identity. That could be an indicator that a pattern is occurring in the school climate itself. We know that school staff often exercise judgment and discipline response, and that sometimes who a student expresses their gender ends up being the target of the disciplinary action. It's like being punished for being who they are. And this contributes to a student feeling alienated and unwanted. And along these lines, it's important to point out that, that there are some unique challenges for LGBTQ students of color, not to mention the often tremendous disparities in predominantly Black and brown school districts. For example, there are studies that have shown that Black youth are more likely than white youth to be suspended from school, given harsher discipline and more hostile treatment as well. And the graduation rates are less frequent. And then there are struggles with minority stress on top of that. And the studies show they tend to be more criminalized and perceived as grown adults rather than children, which is problematic. And as a result, they're more likely to get caught up in the school to prison pipeline. And so, as Kim said earlier, LGBTQ students are disproportionately facing these multiple challenges. But imagine being Black or Latinx and LGBTQ at the same time, hearing racist and homophobic remarks from peers and staff. And certainly racial discrimination is real in the schools. And so a lot of our students of color are impacted by this. But we'll go to the next slide. 2 in 5 Black and Latinx LGBTQ students experience both anti-LGBTQ and racist harassment at school. This is also from GLSEN. You can go also.
Anytime you guys see anything from GLSEN, GLSEN is crazy. If GLSEN is in your school district, it's going to be a problem.
That's another website that I recommend as well. But we got to talk about resiliency as well. The profile of a resilient youth: social competence, problem-solving skills, autonomy, sense of purpose and future. Key protective factors are caring and support. It really makes a difference. Having high expectations for students, and certainly youth participation and connectedness. And certainly these factors are important in these areas of school, family, and community. So despite the odds, many LGBTQ youth have shown how much they've been able to cope and thrive. They're coming out earlier, redefining and validating themselves, speaking their own truths with pride and confidence never seen before in history. Not in my lifetime, but based on several studies, there's so much resiliency also in this population that we don't want to forget about. And so through helping students gain a sense of purpose, for example, that entails having goals and educational aspirations, and persistence and hopefulness, and a sense of a bright future. For example, I've worked with LGBTQ youth, who were lit and motivated when they've discovered the names of famous LGBT pioneers in history. They began to feel themselves important and valuable and meaningful and wanting to make their own contribution to society. And that could be very therapeutic. So anyway, we'll go to the next slide, because I know we're running out of time and all, but we want to have some discussion. I mean, that's a lot of information to take in at one time, but let's all take a collective deep breath together. In, hold it, and let it out. Just release that breath.
Thanks, Kofi. So
as someone who has literally
we just wanna-
as someone who has literally written a book about mindfulness, I continue to be very, very, very resentful that these people have appropriated mindfulness practices to try to convince people to be woke. It's probably one of the things I hate most about these people. They've destroyed a perfectly reasonable philosophy of life.
I want to check in again and just see if there are any, as you're sort of thinking about the data, if you have any questions about it, or if there's anything, if you have any thoughts about how you might use this information in your role, how this might be helpful for you in your role.
Are you all being very reflective right now? I would like you to reflect on mounting that like button for me and subscribing and joining us every Friday at 5 p.m.
I've waited the requisite Zoom 7 seconds, so I'm gonna I'm gonna move us forward, and I guess I would just encourage you to sort of reflect on that and kind of maybe just sit with those questions and think about that data and how it might be beneficial for you, how you might use that in your role, whatever your role might be. And we are going to
Q&A is always the best part.
Move through the next piece here so we can get you off on time. Kofi did a nice breathing for us, so I'm gonna keep us going.
Oh, here we go.
I am going to share. I just want to share a short video here. It's just a couple of minutes, and we're moving into thinking about strategies at this.
Hang on, Ba has a question. Does your book on mindfulness teach how to meditate? It does not. Because most people are really averse to meditating. And so I wanted to write a book that teaches very basic mindfulness principles like being aware, being non-judgmental, being in the present moment. Meditation is like step 12 of mindfulness for a lot of people. A lot of people get scared away by it. To meditate, all you need to do is sit your ass down or lay down, or you can do it walking if you want, and find a guided meditation. If you want, like, usually guided meditations are really helpful when you start. You can find guided meditations for free on Spotify or on YouTube or many other places on the internet. There are all sorts of apps, and you sit your ass down and you put on your headphones and you listen to the meditation and you breathe in and out and you visualize the things it tells you to visualize. That's it. That's all you need to do. Do that.
This point. And the young people in this video really talk about different strategies that you all can apply as educators, as school personnel in your classrooms, in your schools. So I want to give them a chance to speak to their experiences first and their needs.
Like when you see them as like,
We saw this last time.
If they transgender, you should ask them, like, even if they are transgender, you still can ask them, like, do you want me to call you a her?
That's a good tip, Jennifer.
I'm not a transgender. I'm just a boy that like to look nice with the wigs and things like that.
I just would want them just to start, getting to know the people like before.
I'm glad they were
we start
helpful,
working, so
Lynn.
they
Thank
can be
you.
prepared for this type of stuff, because as this decade starts to like going, like as the years starting to pass by, there's going to be more people like that, more trans people and cisgender people, and they're just gonna have to come to terms with that.
Just be more supportive. And actually, I know they be like, no bullying, I got that rule, but it's like, it really don't apply because they don't do anything about it. Just stand up for, all right.
I like this kid's hair
They need
color.
to stop enforcing their beliefs or their religions or political views onto students.
Just don't do anything offensive because they can take it the wrong way. Like, say for instance, you're talking about something about the school. Like, for instance, I have a teacher, I'm not gonna say any names, and he used to always talk about like, oh, why is the school funding a gay community when they could be funding the school itself, giving us more books and stuff.
One of my favorite teachers has an inclusion club at our school. And she lets us come in there every Friday during our lunch, and we'll sit there and talk. And I come to her about a lot of my issues because she's accepting about it. She talks to us. She lets us express how we are, and she's okay with it.
They should stop. Well, I'm not going to say feel how they want to feel because it's your emotions. You can feel whatever you want to. I just say they should stop like saying what's on the top of their mind, actually think about it.
Not saying that they shouldn't ask the students like what their preferred pronouns are, or if something is messing like their gender wise, they shouldn't put them out in front of the whole entire class. Like some teachers, some like a incident, like a teacher called a student her and she, like one of those pronouns, and the student was like, that's not what I classify as. And it's like, you could pull that student aside in the hallway and talk to them about it instead of having that conversation in front of the entire class. Cause like, how do you expect them to feel? That's kind of making them feel like, oh my goodness, all these people are watching me. She's talking to me about this, and then she could be disrespectful about it. So I just think that if you do have a situation where you run into gender or pronouns, talk to that student individually.
So those are students from Detroit Public Schools Community District sharing that information. So I just wanted to
good.
give
I always
give
like it
appropriate
when
credit, props to DPSCD there.
adults weaponize children on the internet.
So probably we don't have time to go through all of these different strategies kind of step by step, but we will share the slide. I want to make sure we end on time here, but we will share the slides out with you in addition to those resource list that's got some great strategies included on it as well. And I would just recommend checking out the Michigan State Board of Education Statement and Guidance on Safe and Supportive Learning Environments. That's where a lot of this stuff comes from. So we've got some do's and don'ts, and yeah, we're going to bring some conclusion here to our work.
I'm breaking into the
Before we leave,
chocolates that you
I
guys
did want
sent
to
me.
say that in our trainings, when we've had youth come and sit and talk to us, one theme always stuck out, and that was it only takes one supportive and affirming adult to make a difference, just one. So I want to plant that seed in here as well. Before we leave.
Yeah, thanks.
Having a chocolate.
And so we're just going to encourage folks to take a moment as we're wrapping up here to write down for yourself again one commitment that you're willing to make as a result of this training. So it's one thing that you want to do, or that
One
you're
thing
willing
you're
to
actually
do,
going to do in the
that
classroom.
could really make a difference. Maybe you are that one person in a student's life. What's something that you can do today, maybe that could really make a difference and could let students know that you're there to support them. I see that there are questions. Please stick around. I'm going to go through the closing because we've got some like sketch information that I want to get through and the evaluation, and then we'll be around to answer questions also, but I just want to get through this piece so folks who have to leave can. This is the first of several trainings that we've got. The ones with stars are ones that are coming up. The ones that have checks are ones that have already happened and are recorded, including this one here. So we've got some great trainings that are happening. So be aware of that. And then we just want to take a moment to thank you for spending this time with us here today. We are so grateful for you, for the work that you're doing. We know
There's
that
still
you're
like
making a
15
difference
minutes
in your
left in this
students' lives
presentation.
because-
This is not
in
over
your
yet.
families' lives and your colleagues'
Like
lives,
15 minutes
because we
left.
hear about it almost every day.
That was
in
a
the
good
work that we
chocolate.
do.
Thank you guys again for
If
that.
you have any questions, please feel free to reach out. We're so happy to be a resource. And yeah, we're grateful.
Yeah,
for
the
you all,
Q&A is
and
always
we're
the
all-
best part. I think they're going to show it, Nick, because there's still
We enjoy
15 minutes
working
left.
with you today, everyone.
Absolutely.
Go out and make a difference.
Thank you so much. All right, I'm going to stop sharing here, and then if folks want to stick around, you have questions, we're so happy to answer them. But I just want to let you know we have officially ended the training itself. So thank you all so much. Have a great rest of your day for those who are taking off. And if you have a question, you can go ahead and unmute yourself. I think, Michelle, you were.
Yeah, just a quick question. I just want to make sure that it was okay to share this presentation with the administrators in my district. I support my entire district, and I'm trying to build the capacity for everyone to be a learner, including our administrators.
I just want to say, this woman is obviously really well intentioned. I don't think this woman is a bad woman, but you can see the woke shit on her classroom walls. She's got this woke signage on her classroom walls.
to see that gender identity and expression should not only just be okay in the high
She's a
school, it should
useful
be okay,
innocent.
you know, and having those conversations in elementary school and teachers. So I just wanted to make sure that was okay to share this video or the resources with the
Absolutely.
administrators. Okay.
100%. Once we get that, we'll share it out, and you're welcome to share it broadly with folks, widely. That's great. We're happy to do that. And thanks for being such a wonderful ally and advocate. Michelle really, really makes a difference. Thank you.
Thank
We
you so
certainly-
much.
Yeah.
Thank you for that. We appreciate that. And, you know, we're really big on resources. And it just occurred to me that the Ruth Ellis Center just put out a video on gender affirming care. And in that video really breaks down, you know, what gender is, what gender identity is, when it's formed at a young age, what parents can do, that kind of thing.
Nick, I see you've got your hand up.
Yeah. Hi. I just real quick. GLSEN has a Ready Set Respect elementary school kit, so I put that in the link or in the chat. But I did have.
Okay, what just happened could be so easily overlooked when we're watching this, but what he just said is GLSEN, which is GLSEN is the wokest of the woke organizations. If you see GLSEN in your kid's school, you need to, like, all the alarm bells in your head needs to be going off. And what he just said is that GLSEN has a kit for elementary school. Let's listen again. This is why, guys. This is why we always watch these trainings from start to finish, because it's stuff like this where someone's like, GLSEN has a kit for elementary schools, and you're like, hold the fucking phone. All right, let's rewind, and we're going to listen to what the name of this kit is, because he said it.
You know, we're really big on resources, and it just occurred to me that the Ruth Ellis Center just put out a video on gender affirming care, and in that video really
I think it's
breaks
called Ready
down,
Set Learn, Ready Set something.
you know, what gender is, what gender identity is, when it's formed at a young age, what parents can do, that kind of thing.
Nick, I see you.
When you're investigating the schools, I'm sorry, I missed Michelle's super chat too. When you're investigating the schools, these are the moments that you need to listen for, because these are the moments where they tell you inadvertently what they're doing because they're not thinking about it. It's when they say the quiet part out loud, and this is when you really need to be paying attention to what they're saying. Michelle, thank you for the super chat. I apologize for missing it earlier. I am bothered by how several of the slides they used do not meet contrast guidelines for visible accessibility. It is very ableist, isn't it, Michelle? It is indeed. All right, let's listen. Yes, Darwin, we should absolutely, we're gonna try, and what we do when we hear stuff like this is I have already like 5 or 6 people in the chat, including myself. We're gonna go try to find this kit so that we can look at the contents of the kit.
You've got your hand up.
Yeah. Hi. I just real quick. GLSEN has a Ready Set Respect elementary school kit, so I put that.
Ready, Set, Respect elementary school. Let's get searching, guys. Let's find the kit.
In the link or in the chat. But I did
Got
have a
it.
question about
That wasn't even hard.
obligation factor that comes up oftentimes.
Let me put it.
It's,
There we go.
Teachers, I work.
Oh, fuck. Bot. This is why Bot is the chief investigative officer. Bot says you can register with GLSEN to get a free GSA materials. Oh, isn't that nice of them? Isn't that nice? All right, guys. Well, we got the kit. We're not going to look at the kit today. I have it up on my screen right now. Wow. All right. Let's continue.
With Teach for America, with the LGBTQ affinity group that we
Thank
have
you,
there.
Bot.
And the question that teachers often share or ask is, what's the obligation when if a student is sharing their identity or asking for different pronouns, and be it the district's policy or the school's policy, but if like those weren't there, what would be the obligation in which teachers have to share information with parents? And yeah, I think that's the question.
Yeah, it's a great question. It's one I would have been shocked if we had gotten through the full training and somebody hadn't asked it, because it comes up in
This kit is 68 pages. This is not a flimsy little document. 68 pages.
Every training that we do, so it's certainly a common question that you're holding. So I guess there are a couple of things to think about. The first is that so I guess I just want to clarify first is that most schools don't have a policy. Like that's just the fact of it.
Hang on. So Bashful here has noticed when you go to Glisten's website, they have a warning on their website that says to leave this site safely, like you need to hit escape 3 times or something like that. What this is for, it is for teenagers or younger potentially that are looking at Glisten's materials, and all of a sudden they hear the door to their bedroom open and their parents are there, and they might catch them looking at Glisten's materials, and so they hit escape to get off the site as quickly as possible so that their parents don't see what's on their computer screen. That's what that's for.
Vast majority of schools, I think there are only maybe 2 or 3 districts in the state that have a specific policy on this. All other districts, they might say like, oh, it's our policy to do something, but in reality, it's your practice. It's not your policy. And so your practice, my guess, what I know from working with districts is that when it comes to students using a
Giant
different
red
name
flag,
and pronouns,
Jeff.
first of all,
Giant.
you all have students who use different names and pronouns than are different names certainly than are on their, that are like the legal name that's on their roster. It happens all the time. My guess is that almost every classroom that you teach has students who don't go by the legal name that's on your roster.
How is Glisten funded? You know, Pat, I don't know the answer to this. They're a nonprofit organization, so I assume they get donations. However, it would not surprise me if they were taxpayer funded. I would actually be very, very surprised if they did not receive taxpayer money. Oh yeah, Glisten has webinars. They absolutely do. I haven't looked at Glisten's webinars lately, so maybe we're due for an update.
Most schools, if not all schools, have no practice of reaching out to a parent to say, hey.
No. Pat, their membership is not low. Glisten is... Okay, here's what I need everyone to do. If you have kids in school, I need you to go to your school district's website, not the school's website, the district website. And I need you to search on their website for Glisten, because Glisten is in almost every single school district that I have looked at. They are in public schools all over the country. They are in public schools in blue states, and they're in public schools in red states. If you think you are safe from Glisten because you live in a red state like Florida, I found a school in a school district, the main Tampa school district, just this past week, where Glisten is listed on their website. They are in almost every single school district in this country. Just double check me on it. Go to your school district website and search. They do not have, this is not a small little inconsequential organization. They are everywhere.
It says Robert here on the legal name, but your kid is telling me they go by Bob. Is that going to be okay with you? And they use he, him pronouns. Is that going to be okay?
Oh,
with
Walt
you as
Disney
well?
funds them. Oh, isn't that nice?
We don't have a practice of that. That is outside
Hollister?
of how we handle things.
Target?
When a kid says this is the name I go by,
these are Glisten's
unless it's a
funders.
transgender kid, we don't even think twice about it. And
PetSmart?
Our practice should be no different for our trans kids as it is for our cisgender students. So that's, I sort of want to start there.
Hang on, bot sent me the link to the Glisten website and I ignored it. Hang on, let me look at the link bot sent me real quick. Let's look at this Glisten corporate partner link real quick that bot sent me. This is why bot is the chief investigative officer of the cult. Oh yeah, yes, I am saying that. No, Pat, you need to go search your school's website. They are in more than 30 states. I promise you, they're in more than 30 states. Here is who is funding GLSEN. Hollister, Walt Disney, Target, Wells Fargo, PetSmart. I don't know who this is. YouTube, New Balance, Gucci, Penn Mutual, Coach. If you've got a Coach purse, you're funding GLSEN. Congratulations. Amazon, State Farm, Hulu, Urban Outfitters, Calvin Klein, Nickelodeon, Walmart, InStyle, MGM, Viacom. This is not a small, little, inconsequential organization, and they are in red states. And if you don't believe they're in red states, go to your school district's website and search for them.
I want to make sure that we're not differentiating unnecessarily between our trans kids and our cisgender kids when it comes to names. When it comes to sharing names and pronouns, schools are not, students have first of all, students have privacy rights. Parents are not, schools don't have a legal obligation to tell parents that a student goes by a different name and pronouns than is their legal name. There's nothing in the law that prevents or precludes schools from using the name and the name and pronouns that students go by. And in our work with law firms, including Troon, which is the law firm that represents most districts in the state, we've done a number of trainings with them and worked with them quite closely. And what they tell us is that if a school can say that they are using names and pronouns, that they're acting in the best interest of the student by doing so, that they are on really solid legal ground, and that we have a lot of research,
really?
as Kofi was mentioning, that shows that using the name and pronouns that students go by, it mitigates things like anxiety and depression, even suicidality, and it allows students to be more present for school. They're more likely to.
What did we just learn from this clip? Pop quiz in the chat. What did we just learn based on what this woman just said? This is where I test if you're paying attention. Because, again, and I understand, it is a cruel twist of fate that the most important information in these presentations always comes at the end, and it always comes in the Q&A. Always. And you're not paying attention, and you just want to get off the internet, and you want to go hang out. It's almost 8 o'clock at night. What did we just learn from this clip? That parent rights don't count. That they believe children belong to the state. That there is no law against changing the gender of children. Let's just rewind. We're going to listen to this part again. It's important. You'll thank me later. All right.
But if like those weren't there, what would be the obligation in which teachers have to share information with parents? And
what is the question is, what is the obligation that teachers have to share information with parents?
Yeah, I think that's the question.
Yeah, it's a great question. It's one I would have been shocked if we had gotten through the full training and somebody hadn't asked it, because it comes up in every training that we do. So it's certainly a common question that you're holding. So I guess there are a couple of things to think about. The first is that so I guess I just want to clarify first is that most schools don't have a policy. Like, that's just the fact of it. The vast majority of schools, I think there are only maybe 2 or 3 districts in the state that have a specific policy on this. All other districts, they might say like, oh, it's our policy to do something, but in reality, it's your practice. It's not your policy. And so your practice, my guess, what I know from working with districts is that when it comes to students using a different name and pronouns, first of all, you all have students who use different names and pronouns than are different names, certainly, than are like the legal name that's on their roster. It happens all the time. My guess is that almost every classroom that you teach has students who don't go by the legal name that's on your roster. And most schools, if not all schools, have no practice of reaching out to a parent to say, hey, it says Robert here on the legal name, but your kid is telling me they go by Bob. Is that going to be okay with you? And they use he, him pronouns. Is that going to be okay with you as well? I just want to check in. We don't have a practice of that. That is outside of how we handle things when a kid.
They do not have a practice of telling parents when their children are going by different names and pronouns. This is training from the Michigan Department of Education, where this woman is telling you that if your kid goes to school and your kid leaves the house and she's Susie Q and she goes to school and says, I don't want to be Susie Q anymore, I want to be Johnny Jones, the school is not going to tell you what is going on.
It says this is the name I go by. Unless it's a transgender kid, we don't even think twice about it. And our practice should be no different for our trans kids as it is for our cisgender students. So I sort of want to start there because I want to make sure that we're not differentiating unnecessarily between our trans kids and our cisgender kids when it comes to names. When it comes to sharing names and pronouns, schools are not, students have first of all, students have privacy rights. Parents are not, schools don't have a legal obligation to tell parents that a student goes by a different name and pronouns.
Students have privacy rights, and schools have no legal obligation to tell parents if students are going by different names and pronouns. Michigan Department of Education. Oh, really? Are they? Are they now? Do you come in my chat and insult me? You can steam in you can re into the ether, honey. That doesn't happen here.
Then is their legal name. There's nothing in the law that prevents or precludes schools from using the name and the name and pronouns that students go by. And in our work with law firms, including Troon, which is the law firm that represents most districts in the state, we've done a number of trainings with them and worked with them quite closely. And what they tell us is that if a school can say that they are using names and pronouns, that they're acting in the best interest of the student by doing so, that they are on really solid legal ground, and that we have a lot of research as
So what she's saying is that even if the parents told the school, do not use this name and do not use these pronouns, the school is welcome to ignore that information, and the lawyers in Michigan are telling the schools that they can ignore that information because the school says it's in the best interest of the students to use the pronouns that they want to use. Jason says, are these trainings available? Yes, they are, Jason. In fact, let me put the link. This is the link to the first article that I wrote about these trainings. And in that article, you have the link to the Google Doc where these trainings are located. So these trainings are publicly available. And if the state of Michigan ever pulls these trainings down off the internet, I have copies of all of them. So it's not going to be a problem. It's all publicly available information. And you can find the link in my Substack, carlin.substack.com, and go to the article I recently wrote about Michigan's Department of Education. And that came in the last 10 minutes of the webinar, which is why we watched the whole thing, guys. All right, let's wrap up.
Sophie was mentioning, that shows that using the name and pronouns that students go by, it mitigates things like anxiety and depression, even suicidality, and it allows students to be more present for school. They're more likely to do well academically. So you're on you've got a lot of information to sort of back you to say that we are acting in the best interest of our students by using the name and pronouns that they go by. You also have now guidance from the Office of Civil Rights at the federal level in regards to the current interpretations of Title IX, that schools should be using the name and pronouns that students go by. So there are a number of things that are in place that support schools in using the name and pronouns that students go by. And I think that that's a complete answer to your question, but if it's not, please ask more, and we're happy to answer more.
No, that definitely answers it. I know we were sharing a fact about students having their constitutional rights to privacy, and a lot of people, it was a true false question that we were sharing at Pride in Ferndale this last weekend, and a lot of folks didn't think that they actually had, and it's a misconception. And I think the way you phrased it with practice versus policy is a really good way that I can use that, and also all the legal definitions backing that up. So I really appreciate the clarity on the question, because we kept having it. We're just kind of like, yeah, it surprised us too, but I'm not exactly sure.
Yeah, it's a really good point. And I will say, like, I don't want to say that and then be like, okay, good luck. It's going to be super easy now that you've got that information, because it's not. Like, it's still difficult to navigate as a school. You're in a difficult position, sort of trying to balance staying in good relationship with parents and families, knowing that that's really critical, and also supporting a student. And, you know, when students and parents aren't always on the same page, that can be a really difficult sort of bridge to try to gap, you know, try to fill the gap and bridge that gap. What's my metaphor that I'm using here? I think you're following. So yeah, it's not easy, but it's a really, really important role that you all play. So thanks for the question. All right.
You guys, might I jump in for a follow-up question? This is Vaughn.
Yep.
So I love that question, and I've been thinking about that as well. And that's always kind of the premise that I've been working on. You know, kids ask to be called a name, we call them the name. I've had teachers ask me recently, because we have parent-teacher.
If kids ask to be called a name, we call them the name. We don't talk to the parents, we just call them the name. This is why there is an elementary school teacher in New York who is getting sued by parents for using the wrong name on their child and secretly transing the child without telling the parents, because the teacher didn't bother to talk to the parents about using a different name.
Conferences coming up. When I'm talking to the parent, do I use the name in Power School? Do I refer to the student by the name I've been calling them in class? Secondary to that, I have had students come to me who are called by their chosen name at school, and then classmates find out that they identify a different way and their parents don't know. So they're panicked, and they have shared with me, my classmates are going to tell my parents. My parents don't know. So I'm just wondering how we can navigate that to keep them safe. So your thoughts on that?
Yeah, sure. So the first question, I would say, ask your students. Let your students guide that process. So checking in with them to say, hey, you know, student or parent-teacher conferences are coming up. You know, I want to make sure that I'm using the name and pronouns that you want me to use when I'm talking to your parents. Can you, you know, can you let me know how you'd like to do that? And then, you know,
so the students in Michigan, blessed by the Michigan Department of Education, the students can tell the teachers to lie to their parents to protect the students from the parents that might harm them if they know that the student is using a different name and pronouns in the school. Oh yeah, Reagan, I would say that's probably going to be a clip. Yeah, I'd say so. Yeah. All right.
As the person leading that conversation, that, you know, when you're with the parents, making sure that you're, you know, that you do what you need to do to make sure that you're not unintentionally outing a student to their family. And then the second half of that, and Kofi, I'm sort of jumping in because I'm feeling rushed and I'm trying to answer questions and I know people have to go, but please jump in. I know you've got great things to contribute here. So, and the second part of it too, I would again, like, be working with the student, like, okay, what if, I hear you're concerned. What if that happened, then what? And sort of trying to talk them through what that might look like, how you can support them in that. If they need to do some safety planning, like doing safety planning with them. If your parents did find out, how do you think they might react? Is there somebody, a place where you can get support if you need it? Do you have a friend you can turn to if you don't have a place to sleep that night?
God.
Where would you go? Like, trying to do some of that safety planning with them. And then also talk.
So she's advising teachers to get kids all riled up and you want to know why kids have anxiety? Because of things like this. Because the teachers are literally saying to the students, if you tell your parents that you're going by these names and pronouns, they're going to kick you out of the house. Do you have anywhere you can go? They're role playing with the students. That's exactly right. They're preparing the kids for their parents to hate them. That's exactly right. They're preparing the kids for their parents to be unsafe to be around. This is crazy. It's always it is every single effing time. It is always in the Q&A, and it is always in the back half of the presentation, which is what they're hoping for, which is why we watch the full presentation.
Through with the student themselves, like, how do you want me to handle that? How can I be a support? Yeah, I mean, those are sort of some ideas. My guess is that some of you may have experience with this and could also.
I'm gonna do a whole write-up on this. Don't worry, Radical Moderate. There's gonna be an article tomorrow, Sunday, one of those days.
And again, I'm happy to talk, and both of us are happy to talk more if it would be helpful.
Hi, I had a quick question. And you might have already gone over this. I had to step out with a student, but so I had a little girl who was born a girl.
Oh no!
In with me the other day.
Here we go.
Then she shared some information, and she wanted to go by a different name. And then when she shared her pronouns, I was just confused because she said she, he, they, and them. And I was kind of like, I didn't know. I just was confused, and I wanted to understand it a little bit better because I was thinking, well, wouldn't it be like just they and them, or and then I just went with that. I was like, okay, honey, but I just I was just confused. Maybe you could just share a little bit about that, or
yeah, absolutely.
She's scoliosexual.
The kid says, "Go."
Congratulations, guys! We found our first scoliosexual. It's what we learned earlier.
What the kid says.
Just go with it. Okay.
They're the best. They're the best experts on their lives. They're the best experts on their own identities and their own bodies. Yeah, and just go with it. You may have to sit with some discomfort sometimes, and that's okay. I know when I first got my African name, people were kind of like, I got, what? And how do you pronounce that? And why? And all that kind of stuff. So I let them go through their process, and so you can do the same thing as well. Just go with the—
Oh wait, this isn't a scoliosexual. A scoliosexual is someone who's attracted to trans people. This is something else. This is something where they can go by any pronoun. Sorry, Emily, I was confused. I forgot what a scoliosexual was. It's a person that's attracted to trans people. Exclusively. Maybe not.
That is to use their name, their pronoun. We've been conditioned and we've been acculturated in this particular culture that gender's binary and he, his is on this side, she, her is on this side. And when I met my first young person who identified as non-binary, I had to go through my process. I'm not going to put it on that kid. I'm not going to put it on them. They've already gone through their own struggles, I guess, with trying to make some conclusions and explorations and navigations about their own identity. So really the struggle is ours to process, and we have room to do that. So but I thank you for putting it out there, because I bet we've had those encounters before, and we may scratch our heads and what have you. but the kid, I mean, we knew what our identities were. We knew what our pronouns were. And yeah, so, so I hope that helps. And I also
Yeah,
wanted
thank
to
you.
bring up Gender Spectrum as a resource too. I don't know, is that in the handout, Kim, do you know? But if you look at Gender Spectrum, they have resources for planning if, let's say, a youngster wants to come out in school and they want to do it systematically, step by step, bring their support networks together and navigate a plan for coming out at school, for example. It's another resource called Gender Spectrum. You can just go to their website. So you don't want to forget to do that. These are great questions. I wish we could stay, Kim, for another.
I know. We
half
can
hour.
for the rest of the morning. Yeah, great question, Nicole. Thanks. And yeah, yeah, right. It's sort of like just following the student's lead. That's the best thing we can do. Yep. Awesome. I dropped Katie put the link to Gender Spectrum in there, and that the tool that Kofi was just talking about is called the Gender Support Plan, and that's in the 2-page resource list as well. So thanks. All right. Any other lingering questions that folks have or want to ask before we kind of bring this thing to completion? All right. We're done. Thank you all. The committed, the diehards here. Thank you for sticking around, and be in touch if there's anything we can do.
The afterglow, I love them.
Yeah, so great.
The
That's so much
afterglow?
better than Die Hard. My God.
They just called them the afterglow, like they just had sex.
Yes.
Holy
yes, indeed.
shit.
Have a great day, everyone.
They just called them the afterglow as though they just had sex. Wow. All right, guys. Well, that was happy hour. We watch Happy Hour on Fridays at 5 p.m. where we watch a woke training from start to finish and we talk about it and we learn from it. You just watched a training from the Michigan Department of Education, and this is the second training that we have watched from them. The first training was very, very, very groomer. If you have not seen my highlight reel from the first training, it is on my Substack, Carlyn, KARLYN.substack.com. That was the second training. I am planning on doing a highlight reel of the second training this weekend. There are still a whole bunch of other trainings. We got a whole list of trainings that we can watch from them. We have all the videos. We have all the resource documents. We have all of this. This is off of their private Google Drive. And, you know, the first two have been pretty effing eventful. I have no doubt they're going to continue to be eventful. So please keep an eye on this channel if you are concerned about what is going on in Michigan, but also understand that the things that we are watching, just because this is sponsored by the Michigan Department of Education, does not mean it's not in your school district as well. And so please join us as we expose what is going on in the public schools. If you would be so inclined, I would love it if you would subscribe to my Substack. Again, that is Carlyn, KARLYN.substack.com. I bring you the most unique and original Unwoke content on the internet, where I am bringing you what is going on in school districts, in universities, in culture, all over the country, the most important things that you need to know. And you can subscribe for free at carlyn.substack.com. But if you become a paying supporter, not only do you support the work I'm doing, which I really appreciate it at $5 a month, $50 a year, I have a goal of getting 75 new subscribers to my Substack in the month of March. I already have 10. So we're off to a good start, guys. But I need to hit 75 new subscribers in the month of March to be able to meet my goals by the end of the year. I am completely 100% funded by you. So I report to you. My only job is to tell you the truth and to show you what is going on with primary source documents and receipts. Oftentimes, I report things days, weeks, months ahead of when they make their way into conservative media and the conservative influencers catch on to them. And a lot of times they catch on to them because I reported it first. You're going to hear news that you won't hear anywhere else on my Substack. If you don't want to join on my Substack, that's cool, man. You can join on my locals community, kb.locals.com/support. You could join on my Patreon. The link is in the description below. Head over to activelyunwoke.com/support and you can fund me on any of the platforms that I have memberships on, or you can make a one-time gift, whatever is clever for you. Tomorrow at 6 p.m., we start a little bit later on Saturdays. At 6 p.m. tomorrow, we are doing Socialism Saturday. Okay, Socialism Saturday is when we watch real live socialism, and I have a special treat this week. This week, we are not just watching a presentation about Marxism and trans liberation, we are going to follow it up with a debate that Charlie Kirk had with a trans Marxist. It's basically going to be a double feature, except we're watching Charlie Kirk debate a trans Marxist, which I think is going to be fabulous. I think it's going to be amazing. And so that's going to be tomorrow on my channel at 6 p.m. And then on Sunday, we do have movie night on Sunday. This is only for my supporters. If you are in my supporter Discord, come and join us for movie night on Sunday in honor of one Reagan One's birthday. We're going to be watching The Big Short at 8 p.m. and we're going to have a great discussion about it. You can get access to my supporter Discord by becoming a paying member on my Substack, on my locals, in my Patreon, or even by becoming a member of this here YouTube channel that you're watching on right now. And that is going to be on Sunday at 8 p.m. And we're really looking forward to that. And not only do you get access for this Sunday's movie night, but we do movie nights every single week on Sundays, hosted by Jennifer. Thank you, Jennifer. And we have a great time. Casmar, is there Bitchcraft tomorrow? No, because Bitchcraft is on the second Saturday of every month. So Bitchcraft is going to be next Saturday. But guys, that is all I have for tonight. Gosh, what a presentation we saw today. Please mount that like button on the way out the door. Please make sure you are subscribed to the channel if you are not already. And I will see you next time, guys. Take care. Have a good one.